Welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of viewers aren't subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it's an enormous support for us to keep creating these relaxing stories. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. The autumn breeze whispered through the trees, a gentle lullaby harmonizing with the hushed murmurs of the crowd enveloping me. Seated on my cherished bench in the park, I observed the steady stream of passers-by meandering along the paved pathways. The air held a crispness, carrying the fragrance of moist earth and damp wood. Though a book rested in my hands, my focus strayed to a subtle, nearly imperceptible feeling that had lingered for days. It had begun so subtly. One morning, while journeying to work, a tingling sensation crept along my neck, as if unseen eyes were fixed upon me. I glanced back, only to witness the usual rush of commuters darting towards their destinations. In the days following, the sensation grew more pronounced, more tangible. During lunch breaks, amidst grocery runs, even while nestled in my favorite cafe, faces flitted by my bench, some solo, some in pairs. A crimson-coated woman paused to check her phone. An elderly gentleman ambled with a polished cane. Yet amidst the familiar figures, an indefinable shift loomed. I shut my book and rose, opting for a stroll. The sky painted itself in amber hues, while street lamps flickered to life. I trod the main avenue, attuned to the cadence of my footfalls on gravel. The sensation lingered, akin to an unseen shadow trailing me at a fixed distance. Before a storefront, I feigned interest in the wares on display. In the window's reflection, I watched as figures weaved past. There I noticed a peculiarity, a face within the throng, a constant presence. It eluded clear vision, slipping among the crowd with seamless ease. I resumed my walk, vigilance heightened. I veered onto side streets, then another. The throng thinned, yet the presence endured. Nestled on a bench in a tranquil square, encircled by illuminated edifices, I detected a chill in the air, the first stars twinkling above. A disquieting realization unfurled. Not a solitary gaze tracked me, but many. It seemed as though varied individuals partook in a silent, choreographed ballet of observation. Some faces recurred more frequently. A lady in a blue scarf, a bespectacled man, a schoolboy with a backpack. I rose, venturing homeward, burdened by the weight of those gazes upon my back. The streets now lay deserted, yet the sensation burgeoned in the evening's stillness. Upon reaching my abode, I perched by the window, surveying the street below. Figures traversed, some pausing briefly, others moving forth. I pondered how many were truly bound for a destination, and how many played a role in this enigmatic performance, of which I unwittingly starred. Most unsettling was their semblance of normalcy, blending seamlessly with the masses. As city lights flickered to life, I mulled over the essence of this silent scrutiny. Who were these observers? What quest impelled them? And above all, why me? Queries lingered in the ether, as night draped the city in its velvety cloak. Henceforth I've acclimated to this cognizance. At times I seek to discern my watchers, at others I feign indifference. Yet they persist, like phantoms skulking at the peripheries of my existence. And in nocturnal quietude, as I gaze from my window onto the waning streets, I ponder if they, concealed in their abodes, contemplate me in turn, readying for another day of this enigmatic waltz of gazes and apparitions. Story 2. The night had enfolded the ancient house in a velvety cloak of hush, broken solely by the soft patter of autumn rain against the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of hot tea, I absent-mindedly gazed at the painting adorning the wall across from me. An heirloom from my grandmother, it portrayed a woodland scene bathed in the glow of sunset. Though not of great value, it possessed a captivating quality that stirred a sense of wistful calm within me. That particular evening, As the golden light cast dancing shadows around the room, a peculiar sight caught my attention. The painting appeared slightly askew to the right, a deviation from the perfectly straight alignment I had always known. Rising leisurely, I set the cup down on the nearby table, the floorboards whispering softly beneath my feet as I approached the wall. With gentle hands, I straightened the painting, feeling the aged texture of the wooden frame beneath my fingertips. Settling back into my seat, I resumed my book, enveloped in the warmth of the tea and the soothing melody of the rain outside. It wasn't until some time had passed that I glanced up to find the painting tilted once more, this time to the left. A subtle chill traced my spine, though I endeavored to dismiss it as a trick of fatigue or a play of light and shadow. Rising again, more cautiously this time, I ventured closer to the painting. To my surprise, I noticed a detail I had never before seen. The sunset hues appeared richer, almost pulsating, while the tree shadows seemed to stretch further than before. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the canvas, my fingers trembling. It radiated warmth, as if it had absorbed the room's heat, yet the paint seemed to catch the light in a different manner. In the ensuing days, my focus on the painting intensified. Each time I entered the room, it seemed to have shifted slightly. Sometimes the change was barely perceptible, other times it was stark. Not only did its tilt vary, but the painting itself underwent subtle alterations. The density of the trees fluctuated, the clouds in the painted sky morphed shapes. I began photographing the painting daily, comparing the images meticulously. The variances, though slight, were undeniable. Within the painted forest, ephemeral details emerged and vanished. A bird's nest nestled in the branches, a hidden clearing, a faint trail that had not existed previously. The sunset appeared to transition imperceptibly, as if time within the painting flowed at a pace distinct from our own. On a particularly serene evening, ensconced in my customary armchair, I detected movement from the corner of my eye. The painting was tilting on its own, moving with a nearly imperceptible slowness. Curiosity outweighed any fear, mingling with a surreal sense of tranquility. The motion was fluid, as if an unseen hand was tenderly caressing it. I approached the painting once more, unhesitant this time. The canvas seemed to quiver under my gaze. Reflected in the protective glass, for a fleeting instant, a familiar figure materialized. The blurred profile of my grandmother, ethereal and fleeting like a distant memory, appeared to smile as she adjusted the painting to its proper orientation. Since then, I've embraced these subtle changes as part of the home's enchantment. Each night before retiring to bed, I devote a few moments to studying the painting, yearning to uncover its new secrets. At times, I believe it to be my grandmother's way of conveying her continued presence, watching over me through this enigmatic canvas that shifts and evolves like a living entity. I've kept this tale close to my heart, sharing it with none, cherishing the sweet mystery. The painting still changes position, though now with less frequency, as if it has found a harmonious balance between revealing itself and safeguarding its enigma. And so every evening I sit in my armchair, tea in hand, lulled by the rain against the windows, observing the painting that lives its own silent existence, engaged in a dialogue understood solely by us two. Story 3. The winter twilight draped my bedroom walls in shades of purple, as a gentle rain tapped against the windows in a hypnotic rhythm. The flickering candle on my grandmother's old vanity mirror cast dancing shadows, blending the sweet scent of wax with the comforting aroma of burning firewood downstairs. Amid this serene contemplation, a peculiar sight caught my eye. While styling my hair at the mirror, a fleeting glimpse of a tall, slender figure moved behind me like a ghostly presence gliding through the air. I turned swiftly, but the room remained empty. Returning my gaze to the mirror, I brushed it off as a mere play of light and shadow. In the days that followed, my attention was drawn to reflections all around me. The gleaming surface of the polished wooden table, the evening glow on the window glass, even the tiny rearview mirror in my car, they all seemed to capture fleeting images of that mysterious figure. It was as if a parallel world of reflections existed, where this silent entity observed me with patient intrigue. The figure, featureless yet emitting a soft, silvery glow, exuded a sense of familiarity rather than fear. Sometimes, a gentle smile seemed to flicker across its form, and occasionally, I caught a subtle gesture as if it sought to convey a message. On a particularly tranquil evening, engrossed in reading in my favorite armchair, the figure in the window's reflection appeared unusually clear. Instead of vanishing upon direct gaze, it lingered longer than before. Amid the room's hush, a faint rustle, akin to silk stirred by an unseen breeze, reached my ears. Rising slowly, I approached the window, and to my amazement, the figure mirrored my movements from the other side. Details became discernible. Its attire flowed gracefully, and its movements bore a lightness as if dancing on air. Extending a hand towards me, I mirrored the gesture almost instinctively. In that moment, a profound realization dawned upon me. Each appearance of the figure brought a profound sense of peace. Sounds softened, colors muted, and time itself seemed to slow in its presence. It seemed to carry with it a fragment of a tranquil realm where reality and dreams intertwined. Seeking out reflections became a quest for that serene feeling, no longer driven by fear or curiosity, but by the longing for tranquility. The figure appeared most in moments of inner calm, when worries and anxieties melted away. It was as if it knew precisely when its comforting presence was needed. As days turned into weeks, the figure in Reflections became a silent companion in my daily life. I refrained from unraveling its true essence or the purpose of its visits, for some mysteries I realized were best left untouched. The enigma itself held a value greater than any explanation. Even now, as the sun sets and shadows play across the walls, I pause to observe the reflections around me. And in those tranquil moments when the world holds its breath, I glimpse it still, a luminous figure dancing among the mirrors, carrying with it a profound peace and the gentle reminder that some mysteries are meant to be embraced, not unraveled. Story 4. As I stirred from my slumber, a gentle pendulum's ticking greeted my ears, its rhythmic cadence piercing the darkness like a whispered secret. The echoes of each tick reverberated through the stillness, akin to a mechanical heartbeat guiding the passage of time in this enigmatic realm. Slowly, my heavy eyelids lifted, revealing a room cloaked in the soft embrace of twilight's gentle glow. Nothing within these walls was familiar to me. I found myself reclined upon a weathered burgundy velvet sofa, its once plush surface now aged and worn. A peculiar fragrance lingered in the air, a delicate blend of seasoned wood, dried blooms, and an elusive undertone that eluded my senses. Dim light filtered through ornate brocade curtains, casting ethereal patterns upon the faded Victorian wallpaper. Gradually, my gaze adjusted to the muted ambience, allowing me to absorb the intricate details of the room. Ancient dark wood furnishings stood sentinel-like in the corners, while a towering bookshelf dominated one wall, its shelves laden with untouched leather-bound tomes from eras long past. Nestled on a small table beside the sofa sat a delicate porcelain teacup, wisps of steam still rising from its contents. Rising gingerly, I felt the protest of my muscles as though I had slumbered for an eternity. The soft tread of my footsteps upon the Persian rug accompanied me as I approached the window. Drawing back the heavy curtains, I revealed a mist-shrouded garden where ghostly silhouettes of trees and shrubs swayed in the evening breeze. A disquieting revelation awaited me in the glass's reflection. I was clad in garments foreign to me. A crisp white linen shirt, an intricately patterned vest, and velvet trousers of antiquated fashion adorned my form. Tremors of uncertainty coursed through me as I brushed the fabric, noting its exquisite craftsmanship beneath my fingertips. A flicker of movement at the room's periphery seized my attention. I turned towards the interior, yet all remained still. Only the unwavering pendulum, its metronomic swing, a constant in this fluid space, marked the passage of time. Determined to unravel the mysteries that surrounded me, I ventured beyond the confines of the room. The door yielded with a muted creak, unveiling a dimly lit corridor that stretched into obscurity. Portraits of unfamiliar faces lined the walls, their gaze following my cautious progress. Each footfall upon the aged wooden floor resounded in the pervasive silence, amplifying the solemnity of my exploration. Ascending a staircase, I noted a gradual chill settling in the air. The banister's icy touch felt oddly reminiscent beneath my fingers. At the top of the stairs, a series of closed doors stood sentry along the hallway, their brass nameplates bearing inscriptions obscured by the dimness. It was then that a haunting melody reached my ears. Faint piano notes, as delicate as a whisper, wafted through the air like a wistful breeze. The music seemed to emanate from the farthest chamber at the hallway's end, beckoning me with its ephemeral allure. With hesitant steps, I approached the final door. Within, a grand piano draped in a ghostly white sheet stood solitary. No soul occupied the piano stool, yet the room resonated with the ghostly remnants of the enigmatic melody. Drawing closer, I lifted the shroud from the piano, revealing a swirling dance of dust particles illuminated by the dying embers of the day. Resting upon the ivory keys, an aged yellowed photograph awaited my discovery. Cradling it gently, I beheld a scene frozen in time. This very room captured in a bygone era. Seated at the piano was a figure that stirred a tremor within me. Myself, garbed in the same archaic attire I now wore, though the photograph bore the marks of a century's passage. Descending the stairs once more, a tranquil acceptance enveloped me despite the surreal circumstances. The pendulum's steady rhythm persisted, now seeming to harmonize with the cadence of my own heartbeat. Settling back onto the velvet sofa, I noted the still warm teacup beside me. Peering into its amber depths, a realization dawned upon me. Perhaps I had never truly awoken from this dream. Or perchance, I had stepped into a reverie birthed by another's slumber long ago. The pendulum's relentless ticking marked the seconds of a time that might have only existed within these walls, in a dwelling that seemed to possess a familiarity surpassing my own understanding. Sipping the tea, its comforting essence soothing my senses, I watched as the fog outside enveloped the garden, blurring the boundaries between reality and the dreamlike state in which I now resided. And in that moment, a profound certainty washed over me. I was meant to remain here, in this enigmatic abode that had beckoned me from the mists of time. Story 5. The night held its own breath, a symphony of gentle whispers merging with the rhythmic percussion of raindrops tapping on the roof. Stirred from slumber, an occurrence increasingly common of late, I found myself wide awake in the quiet darkness. But this night bore a peculiar twist. Resting on the nightstand beside me, bathed in the soft glow of the moon seeping through the curtains, lay an object out of place. An ancient brass key, adorned with intricate designs along its edges. Though unfamiliar to my memory, it exuded a sense of familiarity, as though it had always been a silent companion in my life. Retrieving it, the chill of its metal surface sent a subtle shiver down my spine. Surprisingly weighty for its modest size, the key bore the weathered patina that only the passage of time can bestow upon objects. Examining it in the dim light, I noticed its unconventional design. Devoid of the customary teeth of modern keys or the grooves of antiquity, its smooth profile appeared as if worn down by centuries of handling, yet its intricate decorations remained sharply defined. Floral motifs interwoven with symbols reminiscent of a forgotten language. Compelled by an inexplicable urge to investigate further, I rose from my bed, drawn into the enigmatic night. The house, cloaked in shadows, seemed transformed under the veil of darkness. as if the night itself held the power to reshape familiar surroundings. Guided by the faint bluish glow emitted by the key, I tread softly across the wooden floors, each step accompanied by a whispering creak. The air carried the scent of aged wood and yellowed paper, enveloping me in a cocoon of nostalgia. As I approached each door, I instinctively brought the key near, though I knew it did not belong to any of the locks. Yet, with each proximity to a wooden surface, a subtle vibration coursed through my fingers, hinting at an invisible connection. It was within my study that a revelation occurred. The antique bookcase, an heirloom from my grandfather, seemed to resonate in harmony with the key's presence. Drawing nearer, I observed the key's glow intensifying gradually. The books lining the shelves cast playful shadows that danced upon the walls, stirred by the pulsating light that now beat in synchrony with an unseen rhythm. Tracing the key along the bookcase's edge, a faint, almost imperceptible sound reached my ears, a musical note from a long-forgotten instrument. The key's vibrations surged, and beneath my touch, the wood of the bookcase responded with a tremor. Though no visible lock was present, the key had seemingly found its purpose. Time appeared to slow, the air thickening with an ancient essence. Shadows moved with eerie awareness, as if acknowledging my intrusion. The key's glow pulsed steadily, revealing hidden patterns in the wood of the bookcase, previously unnoticed by my eyes. Driven by an inexplicable instinct, I pressed the key against the central panel of the bookcase. Without a visible crevice, the key made contact with the wood, eliciting a sound akin to a deep sigh. The polished surface seemed to ripple like disturbed waters, briefly reflecting visages and locales from a bygone era. Morning light found me seated at my desk, the key clutched tightly in my palm. The dawn's rays dispersed the nocturnal shadows, yet the memory of the night lingered vividly. The bookcase stood stoic and unchanged, concealing its secrets within. In the days that ensued, I continued to study the key. Its mystical glow faded, but the weight of its mystery ever present. On the quietest nights, a faint hum seemed to emanate from the bookcase, a beckoning call to the key. Yet I refrained from unlocking that door again. Some mysteries, I've come to realize, are best left undisturbed, even when we possess the means to unravel them. Perhaps especially so. Safely ensconced within a drawer of my writing desk, swathed in black velvet, the key rests in silent repose. Occasionally, amidst the profound stillness of the night, I hear its faint summons, and I ponder whether it was the key that sought me out, rather than the inverse, and what other enigmas lie within a key without a lock. Story 6. Snow drifted down in silence that evening within my quaint antique shop. The flakes twirled behind the windows, bathed in the gentle glow of vintage lamps, casting a cozy and inviting aura. The aged wooden shelves murmured softly, harmonizing with the unhurried cadence of the pendulum clock's hands. A nostalgic scent lingered in the air, a blend of old books and beeswax, a fragrance unique to objects steeped in history. While arranging some volumes, the doorbell rang with a crystalline echo, signaling a visitor. A rush of cold air seeped in, carrying a few snowflakes that dissolved swiftly on the wooden floor. Turning to greet the customer, I was momentarily taken aback. Standing at the threshold was a tall figure clad in a dark coat that seemed to drink in the light around it. A broad-brimmed hat shielded the upper face, while a gray wool scarf concealed the lower. "Good evening," I murmured, striving to maintain a professional demeanor despite a subtle unease creeping up my spine. The visitor remained silent, gliding gracefully between the shelves, their gloved hands skimming the displayed treasures. There was a mesmerizing quality to their movements, as if dancing to an unheard melody. I found myself captivated by their every gesture, noticing a peculiar play of light around them. Shadows deepened and thickened, as if possessing a life of their own. Coming to a stop before an antique mirror from the 18th century, acquired just the week prior, the The visitor's gloved fingers traced the golden frame with deliberate care. Silence enveloped the shop, broken only by the measured ticking of the clock, each beat stretching in time. Tentatively, I tried to catch their reflection in the mirror, only to realize with growing disquiet that the reflective surface showed naught but the shelf behind them, as though they existed beyond its reach. Approaching cautiously, the wooden floor creaking underfoot, I inquired, "Can I assist you in finding something specific?" My voice barely above a whisper. Slowly, the visitor turned towards me, their features obscured by shadows beneath the hat. In a fluid motion, they withdrew a yellowed paper from their coat pocket, unfolding it delicately on the counter beside the register. On it, a list penned in elegant, antiquated script detailed peculiar items. A mirror that remembers, a clock that counts backwards, a key that opens forgotten doors. As I perused the list, the shop's temperature seemed to plummet, my breath materializing in misty puffs. Objects on the shelves quivered imperceptibly, as if acknowledging something in the visitor's presence. "I regret," I murmured, "but I don't believe I possess these particular items." The visitor remained still for a prolonged moment before nodding slowly. Retrieving the paper, they tucked it back into their coat with the same graceful demeanor they had presented before. Making their way to the door, they paused before departing, turning slightly. From beneath the scarf, a sound emerged, more akin to a thought than a voice. "You will." It wasn't a question, but a declaration. The bell tolled again upon their exit, its tone different, resonating from a distant place. Outside, the snow continued its descent, yet for an instant it seemed the flakes hung suspended in time. That night, after securing the shop, I examined the antique mirror. Its reflective surface appeared deeper, hinting at hidden depths within. And the pendulum clock, the keeper of time, had halted precisely when the visitor had arrived. Since then, every evening as shadows lengthen and light wanes, I find myself watching the door, anticipating the chime of the bell. Each object in the shop seems to share in this vigil, as if we all sense the eventual return of that visitor. For in an antique shop, every item holds a tale, and perhaps, just perhaps, some objects await the beginning of theirs. Story 7. The weariness of a long day's toil lingered as I entered my study. The soft amber glow of the desk lamp cast gentle shadows upon the walls adorned with shelves of ancient books. The scent of aged paper and ink enveloped me like a familiar embrace as I sank into my worn leather armchair. Resting on the polished wooden desk lay my cherished old diary, a gift from my grandmother, its brown leather cover and yellowed pages holding my deepest thoughts. To my surprise, the last page I had penned was no longer blank. A graceful script, foreign to my own, adorned the page with words I did not recall writing. The ink appeared fresh, as if just set upon the page. Intrigued, I leaned in closer, my breath slowing to a calm rhythm. The words painted a picture of an autumn evening, intricately detailing the very room where I sat. The gentle rain tapped against the window panes, weaving a hypnotic melody that harmonized with the soft rustling of pages stirred by an invisible breeze. The flickering lamp cast dancing shadows, adding to the enchantment of the moment. Engrossed, I read on, captivated by the mysterious prose that seemed to anticipate my every move. Curiosity led him to turn the page. The text beckoned, and as I read, my fingers instinctively flipped to the next sheet. A flutter of my heart accompanied the appearance of new words, as if an unseen hand inscribed them before my eyes. The ink flowed effortlessly, capturing the sensations I felt in real time. The warmth of the lamp on my skin, the deepening of my breath, even the subtle shiver down my spine, all depicted with uncanny accuracy. Rising from my chair, I found myself unable to look away from the pages that continued to fill with words. The sentences now described the books on the shelves, mentioning titles I had no memory of owning, yet there they stood in my study. The rhythmic cadence of the writing mirrored the ticking of a clock in a silent room. Seating myself on the corner couch, I watched as the diary remained open on the desk, its pages seemingly alive with movement. The rain's crescendo created a barrier of sound, isolating me within a cocoon of mystery. The room exuded a newfound warmth, as if the enigma unfolding had carved out its own sanctuary within the confines of reality. Closing my eyes, I surrendered to the soothing symphony of rain. When I opened them, the diary remained, but a subtle shift had occurred. The words now delved into my most intimate memories, unshared with any soul. Approaching the desk with measured steps, the words felt less like a narrative and more like a profound conversation, drawing upon the depths of my own experiences. As the evening waned, a sense of serene curiosity enveloped me, guiding me through this silent exchange. There was no fear, only a tranquil blend of intrigue and understanding. Each word unveiled a layer of comprehension, leading me towards an elusive truth. At the stroke of midnight, I realized I had been ensnared in this dialogue with the diary for hours, unmoving. The final words appeared on the page, simple yet enigmatic. Some mysteries need no solution to be understood. Gently closing the diary, I traced the familiar leather cover with my fingertips. The rain outside now seemed a melodic accompaniment rather than mere background noise. As I readied for slumber, I stole a final glance at the study. The diary lay undisturbed on the desk, a silent witness to the events of the night. Something had shifted, not in the external realm, but deep within me. The self-scripting pages had unveiled a path to a profound realization, one that eluded clear definition. The night embraced the study in its quietude, the lamp casting its amber glow, a testament to a mystery that may forever evade explanation. And as I closed the door, I pondered that perhaps the beauty of certain enigmas lies in their preservation, untouched by the grasp of understanding. Story 8. Silence draped the winding streets of the quaint hillside town like a plush velvet cloak. It was an autumn evening, steeped in the scent of crackling wood fires and soggy leaves, with tendrils of fog slinking through the narrow alleys like a stealthy feline. Perched in my cozy third-floor apartment, I gazed out at the windows of the neighboring houses, each aglow with a soft, inviting amber hue. It struck me as peculiar to witness so many lights ablaze at this late hour, yet not a soul stirred behind the misty panes. The church bell chimed 10 times, its toll ringing more hollow than usual, as if the metallic notes were swathed in a shroud of cotton. Though I had only recently arrived in this town 3 weeks prior, never had I beheld the streets so eerily deserted. Normally, even at this nocturnal hour, a lone elder might be out walking a faithful hound, or the younger crowd from the corner pub would be engaged in jovial banter under the soft glow of the street lamp. Seated in my beloved armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea between my palms, I observed the absence of even the usual stray cat that frequented Mrs. Miller's windowsill. Wisps of steam spiraled from the cup, pirouetting in the air and morphing into fleeting shapes that dissolved into the room's shadows. Opting to keep only a faint reading lamp illuminated, casting gentle shadows on the cream-colored walls, I was abruptly roused by a soft rustling sound emanating from the hallway leading to the bedroom. Intrigued rather than alarmed, I rose from my seat, gingerly placing the cup on the wooden side table beside the armchair. As I approached the hallway, I discerned a chill in the air, not the biting cold of winter, but a coolness reminiscent of stepping into an ancient cathedral. The aged hardwood floor murmured faintly beneath my cautious steps, a familiar sound that oddly comforted me. Reaching the threshold of the bedroom, I paused. The door stood slightly ajar, emitting a wash of bluish light that differed from any other glow in the house. Pushing the door gently, it creaked open to reveal an enigmatic scene. Although the window was shut, the curtain fluttered as though stirred by a gentle breath. Lying on the floor, directly beneath the window, was a single sheet of paper. I bent to retrieve it, noting it to be a yellowed newspaper page dated October 15, 1954, its headline immediately seizing my attention: Mysterious Night of Silence in Pine Grove. The article recounted a night when all the town's denizens had remained sequestered in their abodes, as if bound by an unspoken pact whose origin had faded into obscurity. As I delved into the text, a movement outside the window snagged my gaze. Across the street, the lights in the houses winked out one by one, akin to candles extinguished by a phantom breeze. Yet within the dim interiors, motionless figures loomed, their forms fixed upon the empty thoroughfare. A buzz from my robe pocket alerted me to a message on the building's WhatsApp group. "Tonight, stay indoors. It's imperative." Peering out the window anew, I noted that all lights had now been snuffed out, save for mine. Amid the deepening hush, I discerned the lull of my own heartbeat, slowing as if synchronizing with an ancient, inscrutable rhythm. Perching on the edge of the bed, clutching the newspaper sheet, I marveled at its astonishing softness, as though it had been handled countless times. Beyond the glass, the fog had thickened, enfolding the streetlights in a luminous veil. Surveying the deserted main street from my vantage point, I contemplated the article's testimony. Witnesses from that bygone era had claimed that come morning, none could recall the events of that silent night. The townsfolk had resumed their routines as though untouched by the inexplicable occurrence. Yet sporadically, the phenomenon would recur. Rising slowly, I made my way to the light switch. Before extinguishing the glow, I cast a final glance through the window. The mist outside had assumed sinuous, almost choreographic forms, and for an instant I fancied I glimpsed ethereal figures adrift within it, like shadows waltzing upon a sea of milk. With the room plunged into darkness, I settled onto the bed, fully clothed. Utter quiet enveloped me, broken solely by the steady ticking of the clock on the nightstand. As slumber beckoned, I pondered whether come dawn I would retain memory of this peculiar night, or if I, like the town's other inhabitants, would remain oblivious to the enigma cyclically enfolding our lives. The final whispers that drifted through my mind before succumbing to sleep were the distant tolls of midnight bells, their chimes oddly muted, as if resonating from a realm where silence reigned as the universal tongue of all beings. Story 9. Time appeared to freeze on that autumn evening, while the rain softly caressed the roof of the ancestral home. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the gentle glow emanating from the floor lamp bestowed upon me by my grandfather in his testament. This lamp held a unique allure, adorned with a stained glass lampshade that cast whimsical patterns of light across the room. However, on this particular evening, a peculiar aspect of the shadows cast by the lamp seized my attention in a manner I had never encountered before. The silhouettes frolicking on the walls seemed to waltz with a vitality of their own, crafting intricate designs that had eluded my notice until then. Initially, I attributed it to a trick of light induced by the weariness of the day. Yet the longer I fixed my gaze upon those shadows, the more apparent it became that their movements defied the constraints of physics. When a breeze caused the lampshade to sway, the shadows did not mimic its motion. Instead, they followed a clandestine rhythm of their own. With a gradual rise from my seat, I approached the lamp, driven by an insatiable curiosity. The tinted glass exuded a peculiar warmth, nearly pulsating as if harboring a concealed secret within its geometric embellishments. Tenderly, I traced my fingertips along the lampshade's surface, discerning the minute imperfections in the handcrafted glass. It was then that my eyes caught sight of a detail previously unnoticed. Etched onto the metal base of the lamp was a symbol, faint as a sigh, yet radiating a soft luminescence in the ambient light. Meanwhile, the shadows persisted in their silent ballet, gradually revealing more defined forms. Graceful human figures, swaying trees, and enigmatic entities materializing and dissolving akin to fleeting memories. It felt as though the lamp was not merely projecting shadows but recounting tales of days long past through the silent dialect of light and darkness. Seating myself on the floor, I became entranced by the surreal exhibition unfolding before me. The shadows seemed to acknowledge my presence, drawing closer as I leaned in and receding when I veered away. Occasionally I fancied hearing a distant melody, a musical whisper harmonizing with the enigmatic dance. This sensation enveloped me tenderly, evoking not fear but a profound sense of contemplative marvel. As the night progressed, the projected figures grew more intricate. I beheld vignettes of everyday life interwoven with flights of pure fancy. A child frolicking in a garden metamorphosed into a soaring bird, a seamstress transformed into a fluttering butterfly. It was as if the lamp endeavored to communicate through the language of light and shadows, narrating stories existing in the realm betwixt reality and reverie. Then a revelation of greater astonishment unfolded. Certain shadows seemed to depict scenes from my childhood, memories I believed had faded into oblivion, but which the lamp now resurrected on the chamber walls. I witnessed my younger self playing in the backyard of this very abode, my grandfather unveiling the lamp's workings for the first time, and other recollections surfacing from the recesses of my mind. Outside, the rain persisted in its gentle descent, composing a melodic backdrop for this intimate and enigmatic performance. The droplets tapping against the window pane appeared to synchronize with the shadows' movements, as though all were participants in this silent spectacle. Time relinquished its grip, and I found myself adrift in a state of tranquil introspection. Gradually, the figures began to slow, akin to dancers fatigued after a grand performance. The shadows softened, their contours less distinct but no less captivating. It felt as though the lamp murmured the concluding verses of a bedtime story, preparing to resume its guise as a commonplace furnishing. When I eventually rose from the floor, I noticed the rain had ceased. The room enveloped me in a serene hush, the shadows reverting to mere projections of the lamp. Yet a transformation had transpired. Gazing upon the ancient family heirloom, I comprehended that I would never regard it in the same light. I pondered how many more narratives this lamp harbored, how many untold memories and dreams awaited projection onto the walls during tranquil nights like this one. Reclining on the couch, I surrendered to the soothing radiance of the lamp, allowing it to lull me into slumber. In my dwindling moments of wakefulness, I fancied witnessing one final shadow pirouette delicately upon the wall, the visage of my grandfather, grinning serenely as though imparting the wisdom that certain enigmas need not be unraveled to be cherished. Story 10. The doorbell remained still on that autumn afternoon, a peaceful hush enveloping the air. A gentle knock echoed through the quiet, akin to the delicate flutter of a moth's wings against the window pane. Nestled on the couch, wrapped in a cozy blanket, I savored the tranquility while raindrops softly tapped on the window, composing a soothing melody. Rising leisurely, I attributed the faint noise to the whims of the wind outside. Upon opening the door, a void greeted me. No soul in sight, only a pristine brown package resting neatly on the threshold. Unmarked and devoid of addresses, it bore only my name inscribed in a script both elegant and ancient, as though penned with ink dipped in midnight hues. The cardboard felt velvety under my fingers, untouched by the ceaseless rain. Intrigued by its modest weight, I carried it inside, the silence deepening around me, broken solely by the rhythmic ticking of the hallway clock and the soft pitter-patter of raindrops outside. Seated once more on the couch, I studied the package intently. Its flawless form revealed no seams or hints of how to unveil its contents, almost as if it had been crafted by expert hands well versed in the art of origami. A subtle fragrance wafted from within, familiar yet elusive, reminiscent of ancient tomes mingled with the essence of black tea and a whisper of sandalwood. Cradling it in my lap, I sensed a delicate shift inside, as though the very air within danced in unseen currents. The waning afternoon light cast elongated shadows across the room, the natural twilight enveloping everything in a gentle embrace. The package seemed to absorb the fading light in a peculiar manner, as if its surface possessed an uncanny ability to play with reflections. After moments of contemplation, I endeavored to uncover its mysteries. My fingertips traced the edges, noting peculiar warm patches that ebbed and flowed in an enigmatic pattern. As I pondered its enigmatic nature, a distant memory flickered in my mind, akin to a faded dream upon waking, a recollection of a similar package from my childhood, bearing only a name in that same elegant script. The rain outside intensified slightly, its rhythm mirroring the warmth I detected on the package's surface. Lost in contemplation, the room's temperature seemed to shift imperceptibly, settling into a harmonious equilibrium. The familiar scent from within mingled with the rain's aroma seeping through the cracked window, creating an intoxicating blend that filled the air. Astonishingly, luminous imprints appeared where my fingers touched the cardboard, a soft glow fading like ethereal stars in the night sky. Lost in this mesmerizing phenomenon, I became aware of the encroaching evening, the room cast in a bluish twilight, with the package emitting a faint, ethereal luminescence. Deciding to leave its secrets untouched for the night, I gently placed it on the coffee table and illuminated the room with a soft glow. The package reverted to its mundane appearance, a simple brown cube bearing my name. In the ensuing days, it remained a silent sentinel on the table, at times hinting at a faint glow in the twilight, other times teasing with a subtle internal dance. The elusive scent persisted, evolving subtly with each passing hour, a puzzle impossible to fully unravel. The mystery surrounding its origin and contents remained unsolved, yet perhaps its true magic lay not in disclosure but in contemplation. To this day, as rain whispers against the window on autumn evenings, thoughts drift back to that enigmatic package and its silent allure. I ponder if, in some distant abode, another soul gazes upon a similar parcel, their name inscribed in that elegant calligraphy, debating whether to unravel its secrets or let the enigma endure, undisturbed. Story 11. The hotel corridor glowed with a soft amber light seeping through glass lamps tinted like honey. It was the late hour, and the only sound cutting through the night's stillness was the gentle hum of air conditioners. I made my way towards the elevator, my suitcase trailing behind on noiseless wheels over the deep burgundy carpet. The weariness from a long day of business dealings weighed heavily on my shoulders. Pressing the elevator button, I watched my hazy reflection in the metallic doors. The digital numbers above the elevator ticked down slowly. 6, 5, 4. A faint green light from the display danced on the walls. As the doors slid open with a soft chime, I stepped into the compact space wrapped in mirrors and dark wood. My destination was the 7th floor, the highest one. I pressed the button and leaned against the back wall, shutting my eyes briefly. The elevator began its ascent with a seamless, rhythmic motion. The mechanisms hummed almost imperceptibly, akin to a deep, steady breath. When I opened my eyes again, a peculiar sight greeted me in the mirror's reflection ahead. Fleetingly, it appeared as though my image lagged slightly behind my movements, as if mimicking my gestures with a split-second delay. I shook my head, attributing the odd sensation to fatigue. The elevator glided to a halt, and the doors slid open. Stepping into the corridor, I sensed something amiss. The carpet was now a deep forest green instead of the burgundy I had seen on the ground floor. The wall fixtures had transformed, exuding a vintage charm with an Art Deco flair I hadn't noticed earlier. Glancing at the elevator display, it still read the 7th floor, yet the ambiance felt entirely altered. The hallway seemed elongated, narrower, and the air carried a distinct scent, reminiscent of aged books and ancient wood. The room doors bore unconventional labels, 7A, 7B, 7C, deviating from the typical numbering I had encountered while reserving my room. I turned to head back to the elevator, only to find the doors had sealed shut. Pressing the call button yielded no response. The display above the doors remained dark, as if the elevator had never existed. The silence grew dense, almost palpable. I treaded cautiously down the corridor, attempting to reorient myself. The lights flickered subtly, as if breathing. Each door I passed seemed identical to its predecessor, yet each exuded a distinct aura, as if harboring a tale behind its somber wood facade. At the hallway's end, I espied a figure seated in an antique armchair. He bore the appearance of a senior doorman clad in a bygone uniform, his snow-white hair impeccably styled. As I drew nearer, he glanced up from his book, wearing a kind smile. "Are you lost?" he inquired in a tranquil, familiar tone, as though awaiting my arrival. "I believe so," I responded. "I was making my way to the 7th floor, but this place—" "Ah, this is indeed the 7th floor," he interjected with a cryptic grin. "Just not quite the one you sought. You see, this elevator possesses a peculiarity. Sometimes it ferries weary travelers to where they truly need to be, rather than where they presume they ought to go." Surveying my surroundings anew, I discerned subtler details. Gilded frames adorning the walls housed monochrome photographs of smiling figures clad in period attire, while the wall clock displayed an inexplicable time, its hands moving in reverse. "Fret not," the doorman continued, gently shutting his book. "The elevator will return in due course. Meanwhile, why not take a seat? Time is of no essence here." Settling into the adjacent armchair, I felt fatigue ebb away gradually. The silence no longer unsettled but cradled, akin to a tender embrace. The doorman resumed his reading, and I found myself entranced by the shadows cavorting on the walls, weaving hypnotic patterns. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. Whether minutes or hours elapsed remained uncertain. The ticking of the backward clock wove a soothing melody, akin to a lullaby. At some juncture, the familiar chime of the elevator sounded. "There," remarked the doorman without lifting his gaze from the book. "I believe you may now return to your intended floor." Rising to my feet, an inexplicable sense of rejuvenation enveloped me. Walking towards the elevator, I turned to express gratitude to the doorman, only to find the armchair vacant. The book he had been perusing lay on the armrest, its weathered leather cover faintly gleaming in the soft glow. The elevator doors yawned open soundlessly. Stepping inside, this journey proved fleeting. Upon exiting, I stood in the familiar corridor with the burgundy carpet and contemporary wall fixtures. Approaching my room, I slid the key into the lock. Prior to entering, I cast a final glance towards the elevator. For an instant, the digital display flickered, exhibiting not a numeral, but an unfamiliar symbol. Just as swiftly, it reverted to normalcy, displaying a simple 7. Since that night, whenever I board an elevator in a hotel, I find myself pondering whether it will transport me to my intended destination or where I truly need to be. And at times, on the stillest of nights, I fancy catching the faint rustle of pages from an ancient tome, turned by unseen hands in a corridor existing betwixt one floor and the next. Story 12. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my vintage farmhouse, crafting a mesmerizing melody that intertwined with the gentle creaking of the wooden floor beneath my steps. It was an autumn evening when reality and fantasy entwined seamlessly. The leaves of the trees outside swayed in the darkness, casting ever-shifting shadows on the walls of the hallway painted in a soft cream hue. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea turned lukewarm in my hands, I absent-mindedly watched the floor lamp casting a golden halo on the ground. A subtle shift lingered in the air that night, a quiet yet persistent feeling that eluded my grasp. Perhaps it was the thickness of the air, or the profound silence enveloping the house, almost tangible in its depth. Rising slowly, I was drawn by a flicker caught in the corner of my eye. The hallway leading to the bedrooms seemed to stretch beyond its usual limits, the shadows in the nooks growing denser, almost pulsing with life. Standing at the threshold of the living room, I peered into the deepening darkness at the hallway's end. The temperature dropped gradually as I ventured forward. The floor echoed unfamiliar sounds beneath my feet, as though I trod upon a foreign surface. The family portraits hung on the walls seemed to regard me with altered gazes, as if the familiar faces had shifted imperceptibly. Halting midway down the hallway, a peculiar aroma beckoned me, an ancient scent of aged books and damp wood foreign to my home. Turning to the window on my right, rain had woven intricate patterns on the glass, designs following an enigmatic yet precise scheme. And there it was, a shadow, darker than the rest, gliding with an unnatural elegance along the opposite wall. Unattached to any visible object, it possessed a solidity of its own, akin to solidified mist. Moving with a hesitant grace, as if acknowledging my presence, the shadow held me in its sway. My breath deepened as I watched, not with fear, but with a curious sense of recognition, as though this presence had always lingered, waiting to be noticed. Pausing by the guest room door, the shadow took on a faint human form. Stepping closer, the shadow seemed to react to my proximity, wavering subtly. The rain's patter transformed into a constant murmur, as if conveying a message. Straining my ears, I caught fleeting words in a foreign, yet oddly understandable tongue. The chill in the air deepened, yet not unpleasantly so. It was akin to being enveloped in a cool silk sheet on a balmy summer eve. The shadow resumed its motion, gliding towards me in a slow, fluid dance. I stood transfixed, witnessing its approach. When it drew near, it halted. In the hush of the house, my heartbeat resonated, steady and calm. The shadow inclined slightly, as if in greeting. Moved by an inexplicable impulse, I raised a hand. Mirroring my gesture, the shadow seemed to extend a hand from its nebulous form. Though no physical touch occurred, a warmth lingered where our hands nearly met. Then, with the same grace it had appeared, the shadow began to dissipate. Like smoke carried by an unseen breeze, it dissolved into the air, leaving behind a faint trace of jasmine and a profound tranquility. I stood in the hallway, time seeming to stretch infinitely, listening to the rain's fading cadence. Returning to the living room, I found my tea still warm, as if time had paused during our encounter. Since that evening, on rainy nights, I tread that hallway with heightened awareness of the shadows. Sometimes a glimpse of that familiar form, dancing at the edge of sight, teases my perception. The mystery of the shadow remains unsolved, yet its presence bestowed not unease but an understanding that some enigmas require no explanation. The hallway holds its secret, and on quiet rainy nights, as the rain taps against the windows, I wait with a blend of curiosity and serenity for another encounter with the shadow that dances beyond the hallway. Story 13. The whisper of the autumn wind danced through the leaves as I meandered down the quiet country road, bathed in the soft hues of a sunset sky painted in shades of orange and purple. The GPS had long lost its way a few miles back, but I harbored no concern. Familiar with these lands, or so I believed, I embraced the uncertainty that enveloped me. The dirt road unfurled gently, winding its way amidst hills adorned with vineyards stripped bare. Through the cracked window, the crisp air crept in, carrying with it the earthy fragrance of damp soil and fallen leaves. In that fleeting moment, time seemed to stretch luxuriously, allowing me to relish each passing second. Turning right at the weathered wooden sign marked by the hands of time, a peculiar realization dawned upon me. This road was a stranger in my mental map of the region. Halting for a moment, I endeavored to reorient myself as the elongating shadows wove intricate patterns amidst the trees along the path. The road beneath my car's tires, unnaturally well maintained, offered no potholes or blemishes, only a sleek ribbon of asphalt that vanished into the evening mist. Listless leaves pirouetted in the air, as if time itself waltzed at a more leisurely pace in this realm. Continuing at a leisurely pace, I observed the shifting landscape with burgeoning curiosity. The trees flanking the road appeared ancient, their gnarled forms more weathered than those preceding them. Above, their canopies intertwined, forming a natural canopy through which filtered the dimming twilight. In the distance, faint lights flickered like misplaced fireflies, their graceful movements akin to fleeting memories. The silence enveloped me, palpable and serene, broken only by the gentle hum of the engine and the rustle of leaves stirred by the wind. As I journeyed forth, the road metamorphosed subtly. The boundaries blurred, softened by an invisible brush, and shadows deepened, though not menacingly. Reality itself seemed to soften, its edges losing definition. Abruptly, a sight caught my eye, an antiquated brass mailbox, so immaculate it gleamed anew. Devoid of a name or number, it bore an intricate engraving of a compass rose. Reaching out to touch it, a faint warmth radiated from the metal, a stark contrast to the chilly evening air. The road continued its sinuous path, revealing increasingly curious details. Dimly glowing milestone stones lined the edges, their luminescence seemingly emanating from within. The sky above adopted an indescribable hue, a color seemingly exclusive to this forgotten enclave. Stars began to twinkle, yet even they appeared different, as though I gazed upon a sky from a bygone era or an alternate realm. After what felt like an eternity, or perhaps a mere breath, I crested a hill and found myself in a small circular clearing. The ancient stones paving the ground led to a central wrought iron lamppost, emitting a beckoning glow. Halting my car, I stepped out into an eerily still atmosphere, where time held its breath. From my vantage point, the distant city lights twinkled, distant and foreign, as if veiled from this reality by unseen forces. Surveying the panorama, I noticed a transformation in the road behind me. No longer the sleek asphalt I traversed moments earlier, it now bore the marks of ancient passage, worn by countless travelers. Yet, my memory insisted on the modern surface I left behind mere moments ago. Retrieving the road map from the glove compartment, I scrutinized it under the lampost's warm light. True to my intuition, the road I treaded lay absent from the map, as if I journeyed through a realm of dreams. As I folded the map, a gust of wind caused it to tremble in my grasp. For an instant, golden lines seemed to materialize on the paper, tracing a path aglow before vanishing into the night. Blinking, I found the image had dissipated. Lingering in that surreal haven, I absorbed the peace it exuded before deciding to depart. The lamppost had extinguished in silence, the path ahead cloaked in darkness, yet an unspoken assurance guided me homeward. Driving toward the city, I cast glances in the rearview mirror. The lamppost, rekindled, cast a dwindling light as I distanced myself. A golden luminescence danced in the air, as if stardust had been scattered on the road uncharted by conventional maps. In the days that ensued, I sought the enigmatic road relentlessly, tracing each fork and pathway in the countryside. Alas, that solitary lamppost and its radiant stones eluded me, vanishing like a dream upon waking. A faint golden trail on my aged map lingered as the sole testament to my surreal journey, a secret awaiting rediscovery in the play of light. Story 14, Winter nights always hold a mysterious allure for me, especially when the fog weaves a silent shroud around everything. One such night, I found myself in my cozy study, enveloped in the soft embrace of a woolen blanket. Beyond the window, the world blurred into a shimmering sea of silver mist. The gentle glow of the lamp on my desk cast comforting shadows that danced upon the walls adorned with rows of books. In that tranquil moment, a peculiar sight caught my eye in the glass reflection, an unfamiliar object that stirred a sense of déjà vu within me. It was a small, dark wooden box, intricately carved with ever-shifting patterns that mesmerized me with their fluidity. Though I had no recollection of owning such an item, there it sat on the edge of my desk that evening, as if it had always belonged there. The wood appeared to pulse faintly in the dim light, as if whispering of hidden secrets. Slowly, I stood up, the blanket slipping to the floor with a soft rustle, the floorboards creaking beneath my feet as I approached the enigmatic box. A nostalgic scent of aged wood and beeswax enveloped me, evoking memories long forgotten. My fingertips grazed the warm surface of the box, its carvings revealing a tale that shifted and changed before my eyes. A moonlit forest, a stormy sea, a starlit sky, and an eternal night. Seated once more, nearer to the lamp's warm glow, I scrutinized every detail of this mysterious object. It dawned on me that this box, with its ever-changing carvings, had been a recurring presence in my dreams of late, each time exuding the same aura of enigma that now filled the room. In the hushed stillness, the ticking of the grandfather clock seemed to slow, as if time itself held its breath. The shadows cast by the lamp played out intricate dances on the walls, growing more elaborate with each passing moment. Picking up the box, I marveled at its unexpected weight despite its small size. Though lacking a visible lock, I sensed that something significant lay hidden within. As I examined it, the carvings gradually converged toward the lid's center, forming a mysterious pattern that pulsed subtly under my touch. The mingled scents of beeswax and another, more elusive fragrance teased my senses. Then, a soft melodic hum emanated from within the box, reminiscent of a forgotten lullaby. Unforeseen drowsiness crept over me, my eyelids growing heavy as the lamp's light pulsed in harmony with the hypnotic melody. When I awoke hours later, still seated at my desk, the fog had dissipated, unveiling a star-studded night sky beyond the window. The box had vanished, leaving behind a faint, darker imprint on the desk, as if it had always been there. Puzzled, I examined my hand and discovered a small carving resembling those on the box, faintly glowing in the dim light. Since that mysterious night, the box continues to visit me in my dreams, each time with a new message, a new revelation. Every morning, the carving on my hand subtly shifts, as if crafting a message only time will decipher. I ponder if others have encountered this box in their dreams, if they too bear the invisible marks of a mystery unfolding in the realm of dreams. The line between dream and reality blurs, and the box emerges as a bridge connecting two worlds that have always been intertwined. As I pen these words, the familiar scent of beeswax lingers in the air, a silent promise of the box awaiting me in the realm of dreams, bearing secrets yet untold. Story 15. The rain tapped a soothing lullaby on the roof of the ancestral home, creating a tranquil symphony that enveloped me as I sifted through the final remnants of my grandmother's legacy. Nostalgia hung heavy in the air, mingling with the fragrance of aged wood and swirling dust particles illuminated by the setting sun peeking through the delicate cream curtains. Each item I unearthed carried with it a whisper of bygone days, a tale of yesteryears echoing softly in the corners of the room. In the dimly lit living room, amidst the lingering scent of memories, I stumbled upon a weathered photo album bound in dark leather. Its corners bore the marks of time, yet the leather retained a supple touch that spoke of countless hands leafing through its pages. With care, I placed it on the sturdy oak table, its pages exuding the musty perfume of age and antiquity. Within those pages lay a monochrome tapestry of family history. Weddings, birthdays, lazy summer afternoons captured in time. Smiling faces of long-gone relatives gazed back at me, their features mirroring those of later generations. The rustle of turning pages blended seamlessly with the rain's gentle percussion on the window panes, creating a serene harmony that filled the room. One photograph in particular seized my attention, a snapshot taken in the sun-dappled garden during a summer luncheon. Amidst familiar faces, my grandmother sat elegantly in a floral dress, surrounded by her siblings, bathed in the soft glow of a bygone afternoon. Yet a figure stood apart from the jovial group, cloaked in mystery. Clad in a light-hued gown that brushed the ankles, Her face veiled by the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat, she remained an enigma. I lifted the photo from its rightful place, drawn to unravel the secrets it held. On its back, a simple inscription in my grandmother's elegant script revealed the date, summer 1956. A solitary clue, offering no hint as to the identity of the mysterious woman who lingered on the fringes of the family tableau. As I scrutinized the image, a chill breeze whispered through the room, causing the curtains to dance in a ghostly waltz. Dusk descended, cloaking the scene in a veil of uncertainty and blurred outlines. Illuminated by the warm, soft glow of a table lamp, the photograph revealed a disquieting detail. The shadow of the unknown figure defied logic, casting its own peculiar path that diverged from the natural play of light. A distant memory stirred within me, a fragment of a conversation overheard between my mother and aunt, veiled in secrecy and hushed tones. They spoke of a woman who had briefly graced the family's history before vanishing without a trace, her origins and identity shrouded in obscurity. The rain's melody intensified, weaving a hypnotic spell around me as I delved deeper into the photograph. The mysterious figure seemed to materialize before my eyes, her presence growing more defined while the rest of the scene blurred into insignificance. It was as though she sought to convey a message through the frozen moment captured on film, a silent plea etched in time. Turning the photograph, my gaze fell upon faint, almost imperceptible markings in the lower corner, a cryptic message etched with a delicate hand. She always sees. Intrigued, I returned the photo to its rightful place, unable to tear my eyes away from its enigmatic depths. A compulsion tugged at me, urging me to unravel the hidden truths sequestered within the old album. How many untold stories lay dormant within the walls of this ancestral abode? How many mysteries concealed beneath the veneer of faded photographs and forgotten whispers? The rain persisted in its gentle descent, embracing the house in a cocoon of tranquility as the night unfurled its velvet embrace. Seated by the window in an overstuffed armchair, the album resting on my lap, I surrendered to contemplation. Who was she, this enigmatic woman captured in a single frame? What secrets did her gaze conceal, and did her watchful eyes still linger in the shadows of memory? Deciding to leave the album open on the table, bathed in the lamplight's flickering glow, I stole a final glance from the threshold before retiring for the night. For a fleeting moment, beneath the wavering light, it seemed as though the mysterious figure had shifted, as if acknowledging my presence. Or was it merely a trick of the light, a mystery destined to remain veiled within the sepia-toned pages of a beloved family heirloom? Story 16. The ocean that night lay tranquil, an anomaly in its stillness. Wrapped snugly in a woolen blanket, I perched on the creaking porch of my wooden abode, entranced by the soft rhythm of waves caressing the shore. The full moon cast a silver sheen upon the water, beckoning me with its ethereal path extending towards the horizon. Amidst my quiet contemplation, a peculiar sight caught my eye. A faint green luminescence, almost phosphorescent, swaying amidst the waves not far from the coastline. Rising from the rocking chair, I felt the salty breeze on my face as I descended the weathered steps. The warm sand greeted my bare feet, a comforting sensation despite the lateness of the hour. Drawing closer to the water's edge, where the gentle tide kissed the land, the green glow grew clearer. An antique glass bottle, its elegant elongated form holding a yellowed piece of paper within. Gingerly, I lifted the weighty bottle, its surface adorned with a salt patina that rendered it partly opaque. Moonlight danced through the glass, casting hypnotic reflections across its surface. The cork stopper, sealed with cracked black wax, remained intact despite the passage of time. Examining it closely, I noted the glass's lack of transparency, tiny crystals within sparkling like trapped stars. Returning to the porch, the oil lamp's glow revealed the bottle's details. Placing it on the worn wooden table, I settled into my favorite armchair. The The sea's symphony now seemed amplified, as if conveying a message to me. With deliberate motions, I began to dismantle the aged sealing wax. The seal crumbled like ancient ash beneath my touch. The well-preserved cork stopper released an unusual fragrance into the air, a blend of seaweed, aged ink, and an elusive, indefinable essence. Within, a piece of paper lay meticulously rolled and bound by a faded blue ribbon. My hands trembled slightly as I unfurled the document. Surprisingly resilient despite its age, the paper bore sepia-toned ink, rendering parts of the text nearly illegible. The words seemed to sway on the page, penned in a language known yet not wholly comprehended. The script, elegant yet slightly distorted, hinted at the writer's agitation. As my eyes adjusted to the faded script, phrases emerged. Time flows differently here, and the light is never the same. Interspersed between the lines were sketches of unfamiliar constellations and lunar phases, weaving a cryptic tapestry. Yet it was a drawing at the page's end that captivated me. A perfect spiral seemingly in motion when glimpsed peripherally. The oil lamp flickered oddly as I read, casting elongated shadows that ebbed and flowed in tune with the waves. The sea's melody had shifted, morphing into a rhythmic whisper akin to a forgotten chant. The air thickened, time itself seeming to slow around me. The message's concluding paragraphs stood out, the ink preserving this portion more effectively. They spoke of a realm where dreams and reality intertwined seamlessly, where time flowed akin to water through fingers. The message's closure left me breathless. If you are reading these words, it means you too have been chosen. Look at the sea tonight. You'll see it's no longer the same as before. Raising my gaze from the parchment, the moon appeared larger, its reflection on the water assuming a geometric allure. The bottle on the table emitted the same green light, now pulsating languidly, akin to a slumbering heartbeat. Reverently, I re-encased the message within the bottle without replacing the cork. Casting my eyes to the horizon, I pondered if others had unearthed similar messages, if they too had felt the ocean's silent beckoning. The night drifted by in hushed serenity, marked by a subtle shift. Perhaps it was the stars' reflection on the water, or perhaps it was my altered perception of the world. I lingered on the porch until dawn, listening to the sea's whispers of ancient lore. The bottle lay on the table, its green luminescence waning with the daylight's arrival. Uncertain if I would ever grasp the full significance of the message, I sensed a change within me that night. On full moon evenings, I still catch glimpses of that spectral green glow dancing amidst the waves, a tantalizing invitation to unravel mysteries best left undisturbed in the ocean's depths. Story 17. The gentle patter of autumn rain serenaded my office window as I delved into my work. On this particular evening, the world seemed to hush, cloaked in a quilt of raindrops that wove a natural, almost hypnotic melody. The warm glow from my desk lamp bathed the yellowed pages of ancient manuscripts, each one a piece of history I was meticulously cataloging for the city's archives. And then, she appeared. A solitary figure traversing the square beneath a scarlet-red umbrella, a vibrant splash of color amidst the muted palette of autumnal grays and browns. There was an enigmatic quality to her stride, a rhythmic cadence to her steps that harmonized seamlessly with the rhythmic downpour. Each evening, like clockwork, the woman with the red umbrella would cross the square. Her presence became a fixture in my nightly routine, a moment I eagerly anticipated with a growing sense of intrigue. But her face remained hidden, veiled by the umbrella and the misty rain that faithfully accompanied her every night. One evening, as I observed her customary passage, something shifted. The woman halted in the center of the square and for a fleeting instant turned towards my window. My heart skipped a beat as I thought I caught a glimpse of a smile on her pale face, illuminated by the soft glow of the street lamps. Yet, as quickly as it had appeared, the moment passed, and she resumed her journey, fading into the evening fog. In the days that followed, subtle disturbances began to manifest. Water droplets appeared on the documents I handled, as if they had been touched by rain-kissed fingers. The delicate yet persistent fragrance of antique roses lingered in the study during the evening hours, permeating the air even when all windows were tightly shut. One night, a mysterious black and white photograph materialized on my desk, depicting the square as it stood 50 years prior. Among the crowd in the faded image, a figure with a red umbrella stood out vividly, the sole splash of color in the monochromatic scene. On the reverse side of the photo, an elegant script had inscribed a date, October 15, 1973. My research within the archives unveiled the tale of Sarah Thompson, a young librarian who had once worked in the very building I now occupied, half a century ago. She was renowned for her red umbrella and her fervor for ancient tomes. Tragically, her life had met its end in that very square on a rainy night, much like the others. As I delved into the records detailing her life, the scent of roses intensified. The rain outside seemed to metamorphose into a gentle melody, as if a forgotten lullaby was being softly hummed. The pages of the documents I perused began to stir slightly, as though caressed by an unseen breeze. I glanced up towards the window, and there she was, closer than ever before. This time, the red umbrella was folded, revealing her face in its entirety. Her eyes exuded kindness, her smile exuded tranquility. I felt no fear, only a profound sense of wistfulness and comprehension. After that fateful evening, the woman with the red umbrella ceased her nightly crossings of the square. Yet on rainy nights, when the archive was shrouded in silence and shadows pirouetted upon the walls, I could still perceive the faint echo of her footsteps and the lingering essence of antique roses. Occasionally, as I perused old documents, I would discover tiny fresh droplets of water on the pages, as if someone had just grazed the paper with rain-dampened fingers. I often pondered whether Sarah still kept watch over her cherished books, if her spirit continued to meander in the rain with her red umbrella in hand. This tale, however, remains a secret I have shared with none, a tender narrative nestled between myself and the shadows of the library. And whenever the rain taps softly against the windows, a smile inevitably graces my lips, for I know that somewhere, within the tapestry of time, a woman with a red umbrella perpetuates her eternal stroll. Story 18. The autumn fog draped the park in a gentle cloak of gray, while leaves twirled lazily in the cool evening breeze. Walking along the gravel path, I relished the earthy scent of dampness and savored the hushed crunch of my steps. Soft halos of light from the street lamps cast a dreamy glow in the mist, barely illuminating the way ahead. And there, on a weathered wooden bench, lay a dark coat, neatly folded with precision. No one else roamed the park at this late hour, and the garment appeared to have been placed there deliberately, as if with great care. Stepping closer, I observed how the wool fabric drank in the mist's moisture, its warmth lingering as if recently shed by its owner. Not fear, but curiosity tingled through me as I touched the coat, its mother-of-pearl buttons shimmering faintly in the fading light. I rifled through the empty pockets, hoping for a clue to the mysterious owner's identity, only to find a lone bus ticket from 1985. Time seemed to whisper as I held the yellowed but remarkably preserved ticket, a relic from a bygone era. Seating myself beside the coat, I let my mind wander as the fog thickened around me, the scent of lavender and pipe tobacco wafting from the fabric, conjuring memories of days long past, of faded photographs in black and white. Upon closer inspection, a faint detail caught my eye, the initials JM, delicately embroidered in fading golden thread. The park's silence was broken by a distant melody, old music drifting through the air like a distant echo from another time. Rising from the bench to trace the music's source, I found it elusive, seeming to emanate from all directions at once. When I turned back, the coat had shifted ever so slightly, its fold disrupted, a button catching the light in a different manner. Despite my solitude in the park, I sensed a subtle change in the air. Time stretched and twisted as the fog enveloped everything in its ethereal embrace, casting dancing shadows from the streetlights onto the fallen leaves. The music wavered, growing fainter as my mind wandered to the enigmatic JM, a professor, a musician, a soul seeking solace in the park's quietude. Lost in contemplation, a gentle touch grazed my shoulder, a whisper of a breeze. Startled, I spun around to find only the swirling fog. The coat now bore the weight of years, its fabric weathered, colors faded with age. Respecting the mystery shrouding it, I left the coat undisturbed, walking away as the haunting waltz in the air briefly sharpened, a melody unfamiliar yet strangely familiar. The following morning, drawn by curiosity, I returned to the park to find the bench empty, save for the lingering imprint of where the coat had rested, and a new bus ticket dated for that very day. Even now, on misty evenings passing by that bench, echoes of the distant melody linger, mingling with the ghostly scents of lavender and tobacco. Sometimes, as the streetlights flicker in the fog, I catch a glimpse of an elegant figure strolling away in the park, only to vanish into the fluttering leaves when I try to focus. And so, the mystery of the coat and its enigmatic owner remains a whispered tale in the fog-laden park, where memories and echoes dance in the evening breeze. Story 19. The night was draped in a soothing silence, broken only by the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic ticking of the kitchen clock. Nestled on the couch in my apartment, I relished the tranquility of 2 a.m., a magical hour when the universe felt like it belonged solely to me. The soft glow from the reading lamp painted delicate shadows on the walls, while wisps of steam from my chamomile tea swirled lazily in the air. It was in one of these serene moments that a peculiar detail caught my eye about the neighboring apartment. In all the 6 months of residing there, I had never paid heed to the apartment beside mine. It dawned on me that I had never witnessed anyone entering or exiting that particular door. No sounds had ever emanated, no lights had ever flickered. Yet, on that particular night, a faint light seeped out from beneath the door, akin to the flicker of a candle. Intrigued, I rose from the comfort of the couch, compelled by this unexpected anomaly. Placing my cup on the coffee table, I ventured closer to the separating wall, my curiosity piqued. Gently pressing my ear against the cold surface, I strained to catch any sound. The silence enveloped me, but an unexplained heaviness lingered in the air. Resuming my routine, I found myself increasingly drawn to the mystery of the neighboring apartment in the days that followed. Minute details previously overlooked now captured my attention. The absence of accumulated mail, the perpetually pristine doorknob contrasting with the dusty hallway, and occasionally, during the hushed nights, a faint rustling akin to soft footsteps. Like a creeping vine, curiosity coiled within me, urging me to delve deeper. Researching the building's history revealed that the apartment had been rented for 2 decades, yet the occupants remained a mystery. The elderly janitor disclosed receiving rent anonymously each month, adding to the enigma. One night, amidst drowsiness, the distant melody of a piano wafted through the wall. The notes, barely audible, seemed to weave a tale of melancholy and anticipation. Driven by an inexplicable force, I pressed my ear against the wall once more. The music ceased abruptly, leaving only the echo of my racing heart in the silence. The following morning, I encountered the woman from the upstairs apartment and inquired about the nocturnal piano music. Her response, denying the presence of a piano in that apartment, only deepened the mystery. Instead of dissuading my curiosity, her revelation ignited a fervor within me. Noticing further peculiarities, a lack of warmth escaping on winter evenings, a perpetually dry doormat on rainy days, fueled my fascination. One evening, returning late from work, I found the apartment door slightly ajar for the first time. Staring at the faint glow emanating from within, a wave of trepidation washed over me. Time seemed to stand still as I battled the urge to push the door open, ultimately retreating to my own sanctuary. An unspoken understanding lingered within me, cautioning against unraveling the enigma. Returning home the next day, the neighboring door appeared as securely shut as ever. Since that night, each late homecoming prompted a momentary pause in front of the mysterious door. Sometimes, a distant melody would tease my ears. Other times, a flickering light would dance before my eyes. Resolved not to unearth the secrets concealed within, I found solace in the enigmatic presence beyond the wall. Amidst a world obsessed with explanations and classifications, isn't there a peculiar comfort in acknowledging the existence of realms beyond our comprehension? Story 20. Autumn nights hold a unique enchantment in our neighborhood. The air carries the fragrance of fallen leaves, and the gentle echo of footsteps on damp pavement fills the quiet streets. Lately, on my evening strolls home from work, a peculiar occurrence has caught my attention. It revolves around the streetlight standing sentinel at the intersection of Maple Street and Rose Avenue. Unlike its counterparts, this light exhibits a behavior that sets it apart. Instead of casting a steady yellow glow, it reacts uniquely to my presence. As I draw near, the light begins to dim gradually, almost as if it seeks to conceal a secret from my curious gaze. Initially, I dismissed it as a simple malfunction, a tired old streetlight in need of repair. But over time, I observed a pattern emerging. The light only dimmed in response to my approach. Others passing beneath it encountered no such change. Intrigued, I decided to investigate further one evening. Standing about 60 feet away, I leaned against the weathered facade of the Art Deco building at the corner. The streetlight's beam painted elongated shadows on the pavement, causing dewdrops to shimmer in the nearby garden. With each step closer, the light flickered, diminishing in intensity as if holding its breath. At a mere 15 feet away, it cast a faint glow, barely illuminating the surroundings. When I stood directly beneath it, enveloped in the dimness it created, a profound stillness settled over the night. Even the usual urban cacophony seemed to withdraw alongside the fading light. Gazing up at the streetlight's glass, I discerned peculiar markings etched into its surface, barely visible in the dwindling light. As I reached for my phone to shed more light on the mystery, a sudden gust of wind stirred the leaves, hinting at a hidden presence within the glass. In the days that followed, I altered my route to pass beneath that peculiar streetlight each night. The ritual repeated itself with uncanny consistency. The dimming light, the thickening silence, the sensation of being observed from above. With each visit, I noticed new subtleties. The light's color subtly shifted, hinting at a silent communication through imperceptible tonal changes. One moonlit night, within the twilight circle beneath the streetlight, I discerned a faint metallic hum, its cadence almost musical. Placing my hand against the cold metal pole, I felt vibrations coursing through me, as though the streetlight sought to impart a message. I meticulously documented each encounter, noting how the dimming intensity correlated with lunar phases. During the new moon, the light nearly extinguished as I passed, while on full moon nights, it maintained a steady glow. I also observed a precise pattern in the light's return to full brightness after my passage. Always 23 seconds, no more, no less. Curiously, I found my own behavior influenced by the streetlight. I slowed my pace as I approached, unwittingly engaging in a silent ritual. At times, I lingered beneath its muted glow, listening to the faint hum that seemed to recount tales of ages past. I never sought a rational explanation for this phenomenon. Perhaps deep down, I preferred the mystery to remain unsolved. Each evening, as I journeyed homeward, I sensed the streetlight's silent anticipation, creating a moment of shared twilight between us. Night after night, the strange dance continued, the light dimming at my passing. Whether an electrical aberration, an enigma beyond comprehension, or something more profound, I embraced my role in this nightly ritual. In that fleeting darkness, as the world paused and shadows whispered their secrets, I felt a connection to something greater, a mystery unfolding through the language of light and shadow. Story 21. That night, the snow descended silently, draping every surface in a flawless cloak that glimmered beneath the soft radiance of the streetlights. As a night sentinel, I wandered the labyrinthine halls of the ancient museum, bearing witness to this celestial display in utter seclusion. The time-worn wooden floors sighed beneath my weight, orchestrating a harmonious cadence that harmonized with the gentle hum of the heating system. Pausing before a grand window on the second floor, I beheld the ethereal ballet of snowflakes pirouetting through the air before alighting upon the earth with delicate grace. Amidst this tranquil scene, a peculiar sight captured my attention in the museum's inner courtyard. A figure, veiled in mystery, moved amidst the skeletal trees. Yet, it was not the presence of this enigmatic visitor that intrigued me. It was the absence of any trace left upon the fresh snow in its wake. Instinctively, I turned to the surveillance cameras. Making my way to the control room, the azure glow of myriad monitors illuminated the chamber. I meticulously scrutinized each screen, hoping to glimpse the spectral figure once more. There it was, on a monitor displaying the inner courtyard, yet the image appeared distorted, as if veiled by an unseen force. Determined to unravel this mystery, I embarked on a personal investigation. The museum's silence seemed to deepen as I descended the staircase to the ground floor. The cadence of my footsteps reverberated through the vacant corridors, resonating off the glass cases that safeguarded priceless relics. A palpable stillness lingered in the air, pregnant with the static charge that often precedes inexplicable occurrences. Through the glass doors leading to the courtyard, the snow continued its graceful descent. Pausing to observe, my gaze fell upon the figure once more, a man, or semblance thereof, cloaked in darkness that melded seamlessly with the shadows. He moved with an eerie fluidity, gliding noiselessly over the snowy terrain. With trembling hands, I retrieved my flashlight, its beam piercing the veil of night and casting peculiar reflections upon the snow. The figure turned towards me, its visage amorphous, as if crafted from the same nebulous substance as its form. Drawn by a blend of professional duty and primal instinct, I approached the door leading to the courtyard. The chill of the glass beneath my touch served as a stark reminder of the reality before me, a reality not born of solitude-induced hallucinations. As the figure advanced, the temperature plummeted, enveloping me in an icy embrace. An unnatural frost began to creep across the glass, a visual testament to the chill that pervaded the hallway. Yet, a more disquieting phenomenon unfolded before my eyes. Objects behind the figure seemed to waver in and out of existence, as though reality itself warped in its presence. Leaves trembled upon the trees, suspended in an unseen current. The figure halted just shy of the door, its formless gaze fixed upon me. A sense of ancient familiarity washed over me, a recognition unbidden yet undeniable. Though a stranger in form, it felt as though I had known this being for eternity, though our paths had never crossed. Slowly, the figure extended a hand towards the glass, a gesture devoid of malice, almost akin to a salutation. Intricate frost patterns began to manifest upon the pane, as if inscribing a message in a forgotten tongue. Struggling to decipher the enigmatic symbols, a distant tolling of bells momentarily drew my attention away. Upon my return gaze, the figure had vanished, leaving behind an undisturbed blanket of snow in the courtyard. The frost upon the glass had melted, tracing ephemeral paths down the pane. In the days that followed, I meticulously reviewed the security footage, hoping to find a trace of the spectral visitor. Alas, there was naught but the ceaseless fall of snow in the empty courtyard. Yet on nights cloaked in snow-laden silence, I find myself drawn to that same glass door, awaiting the return of that enigmatic presence that leaves no trace. In those hushed moments, when the light wanes and the snow cascades in a mesmerizing rhythm, I glimpse a formless silhouette amidst the flakes. It beckons me to ponder if our encounter was a harbinger of greater truths, a reminder of the mysteries that elude comprehension, truths that leave no tangible mark, much like the phantom upon the pristine snow. Story 22. In the stillness of the night, my footsteps echoed softly through the ancient wooden corridor. Each step I took made the floorboards creak in a familiar rhythm, blending harmoniously with the gentle patter of raindrops on the window panes. The air carried a sweet fragrance, reminiscent of aged wood and weathered paper, wrapping me in a cocoon of nostalgia. I paused before the door at the far end of the hallway, the entrance to a room I had avoided for months. The lock gleamed faintly under the dim glow of the wall sconces, beckoning me with a subtle allure. I vividly remembered securing it tightly the last time, turning the key thrice and testing the handle for good measure. It was a ritual that had always brought me a sense of reassurance. Yet, on this particular evening, an aura of peculiar energy surrounded the door. The air felt colder, and a delicate layer of dust had settled on the brass knob, forming intricate patterns that seemed to dance in the muted light. As I drew closer, the dust revealed itself in concentric circles, as though a spectral hand had traced invisible designs. The wooden door emitted a faint warmth, a sensation only discernible by pressing my palm against its surface, an anomaly, considering the room had remained sealed without any source of heat. Leaning in, I pressed my ear against the door, straining to catch any faint sound. In the profound silence, a distant murmur, akin to the rhythmic breath of a slumbering soul, tickled my senses. Retrieving the key from the folds of my robe, I sensed an unusual warmth emanating from its metal. With deliberate care, I inserted the key into the lock, each movement deliberate and unhurried, as if not to disturb the tranquil air. The key glided in effortlessly, yet when I attempted to turn it, a subtle resistance met my touch, as if the mechanism had been altered from within. A rush of anticipation, rather than fear, quickened my heartbeat. It was a feeling of profound curiosity, akin to standing on the cusp of a significant revelation. Trying the key in the opposite direction, it yielded smoothly with a delicate click. As the door swung open, a waft of warm, fragrant air enveloped me, redolent of freshly brewed vanilla tea. Moonbeams filtered through gossamer curtains, casting a silvery sheen over the room beyond. Everything appeared as I remembered, yet somehow transformed. The books on the shelves seemed arranged in a new, cryptic order, forming intricate patterns previously unseen. The antique armchair was subtly repositioned toward the window, beside it an empty porcelain cup, a detail I had no recollection of leaving. Moving closer to the mahogany desk, my fingertips grazed its polished surface. The dust lay unevenly, almost as if ghostly fingers had inscribed and erased words. Beside the inkwell lay a weathered sheet of paper, bearing a single sentence inscribed in a script resembling mine, though unfamiliar. It read, "Time flows differently here." As I absorbed the enigmatic words, I realized my breath had synchronized with the gentle sway of the curtains, though no breeze stirred the room. The silence pulsated, alive with a myriad of whispers too faint to decipher. Nestling into the plush velvet armchair, I gazed at the room's reflection in the window, where, for a fleeting moment, a blurred figure seemed to move in the shadows behind me. Yet, when I turned, only the moonlight danced playfully across the room. Closing my eyes briefly, I allowed the tranquility of the space to envelop me. Upon reopening them, a subtle shift had occurred, as if each object had subtly rearranged itself. The porcelain cup now emitted a comforting warmth, tendrils of steam rising lazily. Rising from the chair, I felt the weight of the room's mystery press upon me. Soundlessly, I treaded back toward the doorway, noting the absence of the usual creaks beneath my feet. Pausing at the threshold, I cast one final glance at the room. It seemed to breathe softly, akin to a slumbering entity. Gently I closed the door, turning the key in the lock until a soft click reverberated like a soothing lullaby through the corridor. Since that fateful night, whenever I pass by the closed door, a faint aroma of vanilla tea lingers in the air, accompanied by the hushed rustle of phantom pages turning. I have resisted the urge to reopen the door, allowing the room to harbor its secrets, safeguarded in the cloak of silence. Story 23. The first time I became aware of the phenomenon was on a tranquil autumn evening. Seated in my study, engrossed in the pages of an ancient tome, a curious change in the natural light caught my attention. The fading daylight filtering through the window seemed to diminish in a peculiar manner. Raising my gaze, I beheld something truly extraordinary. Above the roof of my dwelling, the sky was slowly darkening while the surroundings remained bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. The contrast was subtle, yet undeniable, as if an invisible veil had chosen to settle solely over my abode. The fragrance of damp earth and fallen leaves wafted through the air, accompanied by a gentle breeze causing the lace curtains to sway in a mesmerizing dance. Their soft rustling created a soothing melody that seemed to harmonize with the enigmatic natural display unfolding outside. In the days that followed, the phenomenon recurred with unwavering regularity. Each evening, as the sun commenced its descent towards the horizon, that specific portion of the sky above my dwelling would adopt darker hues compared to the rest of the celestial canvas. It appeared as though an artist had brushed strokes of gray and midnight blue across a square expanse of the heavens, forming a surreal juxtaposition against the brilliant blue backdrop. I found myself captivated by this spectacle, often spending hours seated in the old velvet armchair near the window. The aged wooden floor would emit a soft creak as I shifted to follow the progression of this celestial anomaly. The room's atmosphere would grow cooler, and a delicate film of condensation would adorn the window panes, giving rise to whimsical patterns that seemed to waltz with the shadows. One day, while deeply engrossed in contemplation of this enigma, a new discovery unfurled before my eyes. Within the darkened realm above, tiny points of light began to flicker into existence and vanish, akin to stars that chose to twinkle solely for my benefit. Their movements lacked any discernible pattern, yet held a mesmerizing quality, almost akin to a celestial melody. The house's silence seemed to amplify their presence, while the rhythmic ticking of the hallway's pendulum clock appeared to synchronize with their ethereal dance. As weeks elapsed, I discerned subtle reactions from the objects within my abode to this phenomenon. The ancient mirrors reflected a softer, more embracing light. Shadows elongated in peculiar configurations, resembling ancient symbols. The flora on the windowsill flourished with increased vibrancy during these moments of selective darkness, as though drawing sustenance from that twilight realm. One evening, while ensconced in my study, a gentle touch graced my shoulder, akin to a caress borne on the breeze. Startled, I turned, but unsurprisingly, found no one there. The aroma of aged books and weathered wood pervading the room intensified, momentarily giving the illusion that time had paused. The clock's hands continued their steady movement, though their ticking seemed to echo from a distant realm. I commenced documenting these occurrences in a journal, meticulously chronicling every nuanced shift in the darkness's intensity and the accompanying phenomena. The pages filled with detailed observations of the evolving light, shifting shadows, and the subtle vibrations resonating through the air. During these moments, my penmanship grew more elegant and fluid, as if guided by a gentle, enigmatic force. On the stillest nights, a melody seemed to emanate from the darkened sky above. Indescribable in words, it was more of a sensation that reverberated within me. It felt as though that darkness harbored an ancient melody, a cosmic lullaby, audible solely to my dwelling. With time, I learned to embrace this mystery rather than fear it. My home had transformed into a conduit between the ordinary world and something grander, more profound. While the world outside continued its daily rhythm, I found myself enveloped in the comforting embrace of these gentle shadows within a dance of light and darkness seemingly tailored exclusively for me. Thus, night after night, I remained entranced by the darkening sky above my abode, cognizant that certain mysteries need not be unraveled, but simply experienced. My dwelling had evolved into a sanctuary of marvel, a realm where the ordinary and extraordinary merged in a perpetual ballet of light and shadow, of the known and unknown, of reality and dream. Story 24. The autumn garden lay shrouded in a delicate mist that morning, enveloping me as I gathered the fallen leaves under the cool embrace of the air. The earthy fragrance mingled with the sweet scent of chrysanthemums I had carefully planted weeks ago, creating a sensory symphony that soothed my soul. The world around me was hushed, save for the soft rustling of leaves beneath my feet and the occasional serenade of an early bird greeting the day. It was as I tended to the fallen foliage near the weathered stone bench that something caught my eye, a subtle glimmer amidst the leaves, like a secret waiting to be discovered. Bending down slowly, I uncovered a treasure hidden in plain sight, a vintage necklace, its intricate design gleaming faintly in the morning light. The pendant, adorned with delicate floral motifs and a mesmerizing blue gem at its center, seemed to hold a mystical allure. Cradling the necklace in my hands, I felt its weightlessness and the chill of its touch against my skin. In the solitude of my home, I knew this exquisite piece did not belong to anyone I knew. For decades, I had been the sole inhabitant of this quiet abode, and the necklace was a stranger in this familiar setting. The azure gem continued to shimmer, as if it held a fragment of captured sunlight within its depths, beckoning me into its enigmatic embrace. That night, after tenderly cleansing the necklace, I placed it by my bedside, where it caught the moon's silver rays, casting ethereal shadows across the room. As I drifted into slumber, a haunting melody whispered through the night, a delicate tune that seemed to echo from a distant memory. Each time I stirred from my dreams, the melody lingered, a ghostly presence in the stillness of the night. Morning light revealed a subtle shift. The necklace had moved, a silent dance in the shadows of sleep. The once radiant gem now bore a muted hue, yet when I touched it, a gentle warmth emanated from its cool metal, a sensation foreign yet comforting. Driven by curiosity, I delved into the necklace's origins, unraveling a mystery that began to weave its tendrils through my home. Objects shifted ever so slightly, portraits on the walls tilted in silent conversation, and the nocturnal melody grew clearer, a haunting refrain that seemed to draw me deeper into its embrace. One evening, as I sat engrossed in a book, the soft echo of footsteps danced from the upper floors, a phantom presence that beckoned me to investigate. Up the stairs I crept, my breath held in anticipation, only to find emptiness, save for a forgotten guest room, now home to an ornate box adorned with familiar floral designs. Nestled within was a faded photograph depicting a woman adorned with a necklace identical to my own, a silent testament to shared secrets buried in time. With each passing night, the melody of the music box grew more insistent, yet its once unsettling notes transformed into a soothing lullaby, a serenade to the forgotten days of yore. In the quiet hours, when the moon held court in the night sky and the wind whispered through the trees, I caught glimpses of a spectral figure wandering the garden, a phantom of memories past, yearning to be acknowledged. The woman in the photograph remained a mystery, her identity lost to the annals of time, much like the origins of the necklace that now graced my nightstand. Embracing the enigma that had woven itself into my life, I learned to cherish its presence, much like one embraces the ebb and flow of seasons. And so the necklace remains a silent guardian of secrets, a beacon of nostalgia in the stillness of the night. On evenings when the world holds its breath, I swear I hear faint laughter intermingling with the music box's melody, a bittersweet echo of days long past, echoing through the corridors of time. Story 25. In the hush of the night, a gentle breeze carried the earthy scent of damp soil and night-blooming blossoms. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I tuned into the whispers of the aging house enveloping me. The wooden beams let out soft creaks, as though eager to divulge ancient tales of yore. Amid that tranquil interlude, a steady, rhythmic thud echoed from the upper hallway. A sound akin to a door knocker swaying in the wind, yet strangely regular, pulling me into its hypnotic cadence. The soft glow of the reading lamp flickered, casting playful shadows that danced across the wallpaper, their forms seemingly alive. Setting aside my book, I remained motionless, fixated on that insistent sound, not grating, but rather carrying a melodic quality in its constancy. Rising languidly, my slippers sinking into the plush Persian rug, I made my way towards the staircase. Each footfall on the time-worn steps elicited a faint groan, as if the house itself responded to my inquisitiveness. The rhythmic beating persisted, unchanging in its tempo, beckoning me through the dimly lit corridor where moonbeams filtered through the tall windows. Upstairs, the air held a chill, infused with the delicate fragrance of aged wood and beeswax. Tracing the sound, I reached the weathered library door. Shut tight, yet the brass knocker continued its rhythmic dance against the sturdy oak. No breeze stirred, all the windows in the hallway remained shut. Mesmerized, I watched the hefty knocker sway as if an invisible hand guided its patient taps. Drawn closer, nearly entranced by its steady motion, the sound grew clearer, revealing subtle variations in rhythm, like an elusive melody beyond grasp. Extending my hand to the brass handle, I felt the cool metal beneath my fingertips, polished smooth by years of handling. The door yielded to my touch, unlocked, yet an unseen force seemed to gently hold it shut from the other side. The knocker persisted, indifferent to my presence, executing an ancient ritual of its own accord. Settling on the floor, my back resting against the wall beside the door, I surrendered to the lullaby of that persistent beat. Time slipped away as I lingered in that posture, absorbing the wordless narrative woven by the sound. Eyelids drooping, my mind drifted through vague reveries of ancient tomes and forgotten lore. The thudding melded with my breath, with my pulse blending seamlessly with the nocturnal rhythm. When I reopened my eyes, the dawn bathed the hallway in a soft, ethereal glow. The knocker lay still, silent as if it had never stirred. Rising slowly, my limbs tingling from hours spent on the floor, I found the door yielding without hindrance this time. The library appeared unchanged from the prior day, every volume in its appointed spot, dust undisturbed in the morning light. Yet on the antique desk, bathed in the first rays of sunlight, lay an open book I did not recall leaving there. Its pages gleamed pristine and blank, as though eager for a tale to be inscribed. Since that night, the brass knocker has remained silent, but on the stillest evenings, a faint echo of that rhythm seems to reverberate, as if the house seeks to recall a forgotten melody. Story 26. The gentle symphony of raindrops tapping against my window pane had become a familiar melody that accompanied me through the late hours of the night. Each droplet left behind a shimmering trail on the glass, painting intricate patterns of liquid light that danced and shifted with the rhythm of the downpour. The soft, golden glow of my desk lamp enveloped me in a cocoon of warmth, casting a soothing aura in the room, while the rest of the space embraced the comforting embrace of darkness. I found solace in observing the raindrops as they navigated their meandering paths, forming fleeting stories within their crystal-clear journeys. But on this particular night, there was a subtle shift in their movements, a mysterious alteration that captured my attention. The water seemed to flow with a purpose, as if guided by an unseen force, weaving a tale of its own on the window. Initially, I attributed it to my tired mind playing tricks on me, the rain's gentle lullaby almost coaxing me into the realm of dreams. Yet, as I continued to gaze at the glass, the anomalies grew more pronounced. The droplets avoided certain areas, creating dry patches that gradually took the shape of a figure, a silhouette emerging from the wet canvas. Intrigued, I leaned in closer, studying the reflection that melded the rain with the dim interior of my room behind me. And then I noticed something peculiar about my own mirrored image. It seemed to move out of sync with my actions, a fraction delayed in its responses, as if existing in a world slightly removed from mine. The rain's whisper intensified, its melodic notes filling the silence of the room. Mesmerized, I watched as my reflection's hand reached out to touch the glass, a gesture I did not mirror. The movement was graceful, almost ethereal, as though following a choreography unknown to me. A gentle warmth enveloped me, a stark contrast to the coolness near the window. Subtle changes began to transform the reflection's features, blurring the lines between the familiar and the unknown. The eyes that met mine held a wisdom that transcended time, depths that hinted at ancient knowledge. Motionless, I observed as the face shifted, transcending gender and age, to embody a sense of timelessness. The rain continued to swirl around the figure, forming intricate patterns of liquid silver that defied gravity, a mesmerizing display of nature's magic. A flicker of the desk lamp momentarily dimmed the room, and in that fleeting darkness, I felt a presence beside me, as gentle as a whispered secret. When the light returned, my reflection mirrored my movements once more, the mysterious metamorphosis fading away. Yet, the rain persisted in its circular dance, a silent reminder of the extraordinary encounter that had unfolded. Throughout the night, I sat by the window, captivated by the rain's song and the enigma that had touched me. The lingering presence felt like a fond memory, a comforting presence that lingered in the corners of my mind. As dawn approached, the rain gradually tapered off, leaving behind only faint traces on the window. On subsequent rainy nights, I found myself drawn to that window, the pen and paper forgotten on my desk, as I sought that elusive connection once more. In those rare moments when the rainfall created a perfect mirror, I caught glimpses of that other self, a silent observer behind the glass. There existed a silent understanding between us, a shared knowledge that some mysteries were not meant to be deciphered but to be embraced. The rain continued to fall, each drop carrying the promise of another encounter, another glimpse into the unknown. And in those timeless moments of watching and being watched, I pondered the existence of a parallel self, a reflection of my own curiosity peering through the veil of rain, seeking connection in the silence of the night. Story 27. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my study, crafting a soothing melody that mingled with the crackling of the fireplace. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I idly gazed at the recent addition adorning the wall, an aged painting portraying an autumn vista. Discovered in a quaint antique store, I was drawn to its rich hues and the enigmatic aura it exuded. The weathered golden frame shimmered in the dancing firelight, casting playful reflections on the walls. On that particular evening, as the storm outside intensified, a peculiar occurrence captured my attention within the painting. The painted leaves appeared to stir ever so slightly, as if brushed by an unseen breeze. Initially, I attributed it to the shadows cast by the fire, but the longer I observed, the more I discerned a subtle difference. The colors seemed more vibrant, more profound than my initial impression. The meandering path within the painting, once concealed amidst the trees, now appeared elongated and twisted, as though extending beyond the confines of the canvas. Standing from my chair, I drew near to the painting. The air surrounding it felt oddly cool, contrasting sharply with the warmth of the fire. Running my fingers delicately across the canvas, I detected an unusual texture beneath my touch, smooth and almost silk-like, defying the usual roughness of an oil painting. A faint aroma of damp earth and wet leaves wafted from the frame, so lifelike it prompted a doubt in my senses. While pondering these incongruous details, a movement in the upper corner of the painting seized my gaze. Among the branches of an ancient tree, something stirred. It wasn't merely a play of light and shadow, but a deliberate motion, as if a presence lurked among the painted foliage. My heart quickened, not from fear but from an escalating curiosity. Stepping back, I sought a clearer view. It was then that I observed the brushstrokes shifting direction autonomously, crafting new paths and forms within the landscape. The trees swayed as though influenced by an imperceptible wind, and in the distant fog, a structure began to materialize, a small building. The rain outside transformed into a soft murmur, harmonizing with the painting's motions. Sinking back into my armchair, I became wholly engrossed in the unfolding spectacle. The room expanded, deepened, as if the painting was gradually breaching the boundaries of reality. Through the night, the painting continued its metamorphosis. Autumnal hues intensified and waned in a mesmerizing cycle, unveiling shades hitherto unseen. The distant stone house grew clearer, its chimney emitting smoke and windows aglow with a golden light. I pondered whether inhabitants dwelled within that painted dwelling, and if they could perceive me, seated in my armchair, observing them through that enchanted window masquerading as a painting. Strangely, the notion didn't unsettle me. Instead, it evoked a sense of tranquility, as if I had stumbled upon a covert passage where reality and fantasy intertwined seamlessly. Hours drifted by, and the painting divulged its secrets with patience. Figures occasionally appeared to traverse the path, their shadows flitting among the trees. Yet each time I tried to focus on these specters, they dissipated gently, akin to dream memories upon awakening. With the dawn tinting the sky pink, the painting gradually reverted to its original state. The leaves ceased their motion, the colors stabilized, and the distant house faded into the morning mist. Only the lingering fragrance of damp leaves bore witness to the nocturnal marvels I had witnessed. Since that night, I sit in my armchair each evening, awaiting in quiet anticipation. At times, the painting unveils its mysteries. At others, it remains silent like any ordinary artwork. Yet I am aware that beyond that canvas lies a realm that stirs only when the world slumbers, accessible solely to those patient enough to observe. Story 28. The gentle patter of rain on the rooftop tiles serenaded me as I readied myself for the night. Each droplet cascaded down the window panes, casting ethereal shadows that danced across the walls of my cozy study. The remnants of a fire from the previous evening still lingered in the air, a subtle reminder of warmth and comfort. In the soft glow of the desk lamp, the room seemed to embrace me with a soothing tranquility. Amidst this perfect hush, a single, unexpected sound pierced the air, a ringing that echoed through the stillness. It shouldn't have been possible, for the vintage rotary phone on the shelf had long been disconnected in favor of modern technology. Yet, there it was, a crystal-clear chime that defied logic. Setting aside my book, I rose from the plush armchair and made my way towards the source of the mysterious sound. Each step I took was muffled by the plush Persian rug beneath my feet, leading me closer to the antique phone that gleamed faintly in the dim light. Just as I extended my hand to touch it, the ringing ceased. The receiver felt cold against my fingertips, triggering a flood of memories from days gone by. Memories of my grandmother dialing numbers with precision on this very phone. Shaking off the sense of unease creeping over me, I turned away from the phone, only for it to ring once more. This time, the sound seemed to intensify, demanding my attention. Intrigued and slightly apprehensive, I watched as the receiver quivered with each ring, catching the flickering light in a mesmerizing dance. Counting each ring in a trance-like state, I found myself drawn towards the phone. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the fifth ring, almost impulsively, I lifted the receiver to my ear. The ensuing silence was profound, broken only by the steady rhythm of raindrops outside. Bringing the cold Bakelite receiver closer, I strained to hear any semblance of a dial tone or static. Instead, what greeted me was a void of sound, an eerie absence that sent shivers down my spine. And then a breath, slow, deliberate, and distant, as though a presence lingered on the other end, patiently awaiting my response. The familiarity of that breath stirred ancient memories within me, evoking the comforting image of my grandmother in her armchair, the phone always close at hand. With a hesitant whisper I uttered, "Hello?" The breath on the line seemed to pause, almost expectant, and then it transformed into a long, sorrowful sigh that tugged at my heartstrings. Enveloped in a strange sense of peace and longing, I stood there, lost in the cadence of that melancholic breath that seemed to harmonize with the rain outside. There was no fear, only a profound connection to something beyond words, a tale woven in whispers and silences. As the minutes slipped by unnoticed, I closed my eyes, allowing the haunting sound to cocoon me in a blanket of familiarity. When I finally reopened my eyes, the room had shifted, bathed in a warmer light, infused with the scent of lavender, my grandmother's cherished perfume. Reluctantly, I returned the receiver to its cradle, the phone now a silent sentinel in the room. Settling back into the armchair, I gazed at the antique instrument, its presence now imbued with a sense of solace and understanding. Since that enigmatic night, the phone has remained silent. Yet on rainy evenings when the world grows still, I sometimes catch a whisper of that distant breath, a sigh from another time, another place. And in those fleeting moments, a knowing smile graces my lips. For some connections transcend the boundaries of time and space, lingering in the echoes of memory. Story 29. The night lay hushed, cocooned in a shroud of mist that turned the street lamps into faint, twinkling stars. Nestled in my beloved armchair, I idly observed the shadows waltzing across the walls of my study, cast by the flickering flame of a solitary candle on the side table. The aged wooden floor exuded that familiar musty fragrance, a testament to the memories held within the walls, while the quietude was punctuated by the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock. It was during one of these moments of quiet reflection that I perceived something out of the ordinary. Amidst the familiar shadows playing on the wall, there was one that seemed to move with a purpose of its own. While the others swayed in harmony with the dance of the flame, this particular shadow moved with a distinct intent, almost as if it were exploring the wall's surface. Initially, I dismissed it as a trick of my fatigued mind. After all, I had been burning the midnight oil for weeks, and my eyes were no strangers to playing tricks on me. Closing the book resting in my lap, I rose to investigate the anomaly more closely. The shadow, sensing my scrutiny, timidly retreated to the corner of the room. Drawing near, I scrutinized the wall's textured surface. While the natural irregularities cast minor shadows, the one that had seized my attention was different, denser, more defined, as though it were composed of a substance rather than mere absence of light. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the wall where the shadow had paused. The surface was chillingly cold, distinct from the rest of the wall. In the ensuing days, I began noticing other peculiarities. The shadow manifested at various times, always in solitude, always when the light was dim enough to allow shadows to manifest, but not so dim that they vanished altogether. Sometimes it lurked in the hallway, while other times it lingered in the kitchen, always exhibiting that same inquisitive and almost bashful demeanor. One evening, as I sat at my desk engrossed in writing, I felt a presence behind me. It wasn't an unsettling sensation of being watched, but rather akin to the quiet awareness of a cat observing silently. Turning slowly, I beheld the shadow projected on the closed door of my study. This time it did not retreat. It stood motionless, as though studying me in return. It was then that I noticed a detail that had eluded me before. The shadow had no origin. Every shadow we know is cast by something, a physical entity, an object, an animal. Yet this shadow existed independently, as if it were a being unto itself. I began to communicate with it, not through spoken words but through gestures and movements. It responded in its own enigmatic way, dancing on the wall, forming shapes that almost resembled letters, only to dissipate before they could be deciphered. At times I thought I glimpsed a message, at others they were mere whimsical swirls. Over time its presence became a familiar, almost soothing presence. On nights when slumber eluded me, I found myself seeking it out, anticipating its distinct movements amidst the customary shadows. It was akin to having a silent companion, a sentinel of the nocturnal hours. I never unraveled its origins or true nature. I delved into research, perused ancient tomes, even consulted experts in the realm of paranormal phenomena, yet no definitive explanation emerged. Some posited it as a physical aberration, while others alluded to residual energy manifestations, but none encapsulated the essence of its existence. Now, as I sit in my armchair penning these lines, I spy the shadow gliding gently in my peripheral vision. It has become a part of my daily existence, a riddle I've embraced without full comprehension. I often ponder if it too contemplates my essence, if I am as much an enigma to it as it is to me. The candle on the side table nears its end, and I know soon the shadow will fade into the encompassing darkness, awaiting a fresh light to birth its presence once more. And I shall remain here, eagerly anticipating its return, engaged in this silent discourse between a man and a shadow without form. Story 30. The autumn mist wrapped the streets like a soft gray blanket, transforming each streetlight into a hazy halo in the night. It was after a long day at work that I embarked on my journey home, only to be greeted by a peculiar sight. A pair of headlights piercing through the mist, trailing behind me at a constant distance. What caught my attention was the whisper of intuition, hinting at the strangeness of this car that mirrored my every move, as if guided by an unseen force. The gentle hum of its engine felt like a steady breath, synchronized with my own path. Slowing down, it slowed down. Speeding up, it matched my pace. Peering through the rearview mirror, all I could discern was a shadowy figure, a sedan, its headlights resembling vigilant eyes never breaking contact with me. The road twisted through the quiet neighborhood, the peaceful houses casting a serene atmosphere that clashed with my mounting apprehension. Curiosity nudged me to deviate from my usual route, extending my journey. Yet, the car followed, maintaining that eerie proximity that now felt almost intimate. The patter of rain on my windshield created a soothing rhythm, a stark contrast to the tension in the air. Rivulets of rain blurred the view, obscuring the constant companion behind me. Turning onto side streets, the mysterious dance persisted, tethering us like threads of fate. The headlights trailed me faithfully, never encroaching, never lagging. The neighborhood slumbered in blissful ignorance as we continued our nocturnal tango. Halting at a red light, I glimpsed, for the first time, a figure in the motionless driver's seat of the car behind me, resembling a statue in the darkness. Choosing to return home, the car lingered, a loyal shadow in the background. Parking in the driveway, I shut off the engine, enveloped in sudden silence broken only by the rain's gentle tap on the car roof and the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Glancing back through the mirror, I watched as the car paused a few yards away, headlights casting a soft glow as though in anticipation. Minutes stretched into eternity, until the headlights dimmed, leaving only the silhouette of the vehicle in the darkened street. Summoning courage, I ventured out into the rain, shielded by my jacket. Yet as I turned to investigate further, the street lay empty, devoid of the car that had trailed me. Since that enigmatic night, each evening drive is tinged with a heightened awareness, an extra glance in the rearview mirror. And on misty nights, a familiar sight seems to materialize in the distance, patient and watchful. I ponder if the car still prowls the streets, trailing another unsuspecting traveler, or if it bides its time, waiting for the opportune moment to resume our nocturnal waltz through the city's shadows. Story 31. The gentle rustling of paper sliding through my fingers reverberated in the quiet of the attic. Sunlight, filtered through a small dusty window, cast shimmering golden beams that pirouetted in the tranquil air. Amidst old family documents, I stumbled upon a weathered envelope, sealed with faded red wax. My name graced the rough surface in elegant calligraphy unknown to me. Nestling into a creaking wooden chair, the scent of aged books and worn wood enveloped me, while a light breeze teased the leaves of a grand tree outside. The envelope felt weighty in my grasp, as though it harbored more than mere written words. Delicately, I broke the seal, the crackling of the wax echoing in the hushed space. Within lay several pages as delicate as veils, adorned with that same mysterious script. The date at the header traced back 50 years, a time before my existence. The initial words seized my attention, my dear future grandchild. As I delved into the letter, the room gradually dimmed, yet I made no move to illuminate the lamp. The words on the pages seemed to radiate their own ethereal glow. The narrative unfolded, painting a portrait of a woman, my grandmother, whom I had never known. She divulged a familial gift, one that surfaced rarely, and only under specific circumstances. On certain moonlit nights, with the north wind whispering, certain kin could glimpse beyond the fabric of time, not with clarity or precision, but through sensations and blurred visions akin to reflections on rippling waters. My grandmother chronicled her foresight of my existence, envisioning me in that very attic, perusing the same missive. A chill slithered down my spine as I pressed on. Her words grew intimate, recounting her attempts to safeguard the family using this gift, to shepherd them through trying times. Yet every glimpse beyond the temporal veil exacted a toll on her vitality, she lamented. In the attic's silence, time seemed to halt. Shadows elongated on the walls, waltzing with the memories enshrined in those aged pages. The letter continued, outlining events in my life, some already transpired, while others awaited their turn. With each passing word, the handwriting subtly shifted, growing more uncertain, as if each stroke demanded greater effort. The final page proved the most challenging to decipher. My grandmother inscribed about a pivotal choice I would confront, a moment when the gift would stir within me. Pausing, I glanced towards the window. The sky had darkened, the full moon shyly peeking through the clouds. A gust of wind shook the panes, carrying the scent of imminent rain. Returning to the last page, her parting words gleamed as if freshly penned. "When you heed the call," the letter concluded, "you'll discern what to do. This gift isn't a curse, but a duty. Just as I've done for you, you must craft a letter. A letter unsent, yet destined to reach its recipient when the time aligns." Carefully, I folded the pages and returned them to the envelope. The wind now howled, the floorboards groaning in protest. I stood and approached the window. My reflection mingled with the moon's image, creating an illusion that gave me pause. Fleetingly, I glimpsed another figure in the reflection, that of an elderly woman beaming serenely. When I blinked, she vanished. Yet on the desk by the window, where nothing existed before, lay a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Resettling at the desk, the silvery moonlight bathing the room, the north wind's gentle caress persisted. I grasped the pen and commenced to write, "My dear future grandchild." Story 32. The rain cascaded down with a mesmerizing cadence onto the rooftop, weaving a natural serenade that wove through the stillness of the night. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of now chilled chamomile tea, I found myself idly entranced by the tranquil symphony that enveloped me. Amidst the gentle patter of the rain, a subtle, almost elusive sound stirred my senses. Faint footsteps, barely audible, as if tiptoeing from the depths of the basement. Initially, I dismissed it as mere echoes of the house settling, for old abodes possess a language of their own, murmuring through creaks and gentle sighs. Yet there lingered an uncanny quality in the manner these noises unfurled, as though they adhered to a deliberate tempo, a rhythm that echoed human cadence. Rising from my seat with deliberate grace, I set the cup down on the adjacent side table. The wooden floor beneath my feet exuded a residual warmth, a remnant of the day's sun. With each step towards the basement door, a chill crept into the air, as if an icy breath ascended from below. The brass handle, cool to the touch, yielded a soft click as I turned it, the sound resonating in the hushed expanse of the dwelling. The staircase spiraling downward was shrouded in darkness, save for a faint azure glow filtering through a small skylight. Descending cautiously, my footsteps merged with the enigmatic ones I had earlier discerned. The familiar scent of the basement, a fusion of aged timber, damp soil, and a hint of indefinable essence, grew more pronounced with each step into the unknown. In the depths of the basement, shadows waltzed along the walls with each lightning flash that illuminated the skylight. Shelves adorned with antiquities cast distorted silhouettes that seemed to sway in synchrony with the rain's tempo. It was then that my gaze fell upon an anomaly. Delicate footprints etched in the dust-covered floor, not of solid form but wisps of moisture, akin to someone with damp soles tracing circles at the room's heart. Approaching the ephemeral imprints, I sought to decipher their origin. The skylight remained intact, devoid of any signs of water seepage. As I scrutinized the enigmatic tracks, a subtle motion in the shadows seized my attention. In the dimmest recess of the basement, where light dared not venture, a presence seemed to stir lethargically. My heart quickened, not out of dread, but a blend of intrigue and an inexplicable sense of recognition. Advancing towards the obscure corner, the atmosphere grew colder, and the echoes of footsteps, now encompassing the entire space, reverberated. A peculiar realization dawned upon me. The footprints delineated a deliberate pattern, a spiral converging towards the room's core. Following the intricate path, I noted that the freshest imprints, closest to the center, remained moist, as though freshly etched. Motionless, I watched as the traces slowly dissipated, evaporating into the frigid basement air. The echoes of footsteps waned, merging seamlessly with the rain's persistent melody outside. Ascending the stairs once more, a profound tranquility enveloped me, as if I had borne witness to an ancient, enigmatic ritual unfolding within the house's depths since time immemorial. That night, as I readied myself for slumber, the rain's cadence had transmuted into something more, a harmonious echo of the footsteps resonating in the basement. Drifting into sleep, I pondered whether the footsteps would return on the morrow, and if I would muster the courage to unveil the enigma behind the ethereal footprints in the dust. Story 33. The moonlight filtered through the thin curtains, casting dancing shadows on the old wooden floor. I nestled into my favorite armchair, enveloped by the silence of the night, when my eyes landed on the ancient mahogany box resting on the mantelpiece. It had always been a fixture in this house since I inherited it from my grandmother, yet its contents remained a mystery, untouched by curious hands. The glossy surface of the box softly gleamed under the moon's gentle caress, its intricate carvings appearing to stir ever so slightly in the dimly lit room. The box had always been a silent observer, a piece of the past that lingered on the edges of my consciousness, like a forgotten melody playing in the distance. But on this particular night, a shift occurred. Perhaps it was the way the moonlight danced on its embellishments, or maybe it was the profound stillness that hung in the air like a heavy velvet curtain. With a sense of quiet curiosity, I rose from the comfort of the armchair, the wool of my sweater whispering against the fabric as I moved through the room's hushed atmosphere. Each step I took towards the mantelpiece echoed softly on the weathered wooden floor, creating a rhythm that seemed to harmonize with the mysterious energy surrounding the box. As I drew closer, a subtle aura enveloped the box, a nearly tangible veil of enigma that beckoned me to explore further. My fingertips grazed the warm mahogany surface, as if awakening a dormant spirit within the wood. The intricate patterns etched into the box depicted a mesmerizing tapestry of leaves and branches, their delicate craftsmanship almost alive in the dim light. For the first time, I noticed a minuscule detail, a tiny eye nestled among the intricate carvings on the lid, gazing back at me with an ancient knowing. A faint, evocative scent filled the air, a blend of sandalwood and something more elusive, a fragrance that stirred distant memories buried deep within my subconscious. Lost in reverie, I closed my eyes, allowing the scent to guide me through a labyrinth of forgotten moments. Vague visions of a graceful woman, her smile a whisper in the wind, flitted through my mind as if trying to reveal a long-forgotten secret. The sound of the wind outside the windows brought me back to the present, my hands trembling slightly as they lingered on the box's edges. Though there was no visible lock, a sense of unbroken secrecy shrouded the box, its contents hidden from prying eyes. Memories of my childhood in this house blurred and shifted, as if rearranged by an unseen hand, leaving me with a sense of disorientation. Seating myself on the worn couch, I cradled the box in my hands, surprised by its lightness, as if it held only whispers of the past. Yet a subtle movement within hinted at a hidden presence, an intangible essence that defied explanation. The warmth emanating from the box intensified, enveloping me in a cocoon of ancient mysteries. In that moment, I felt as though the tiny carved eye was watching me, a silent guardian of secrets long kept. A shiver of recognition, not of fear but of familiarity, coursed through me like a half-remembered dream of a place long forgotten. Echoes of my grandmother's cryptic words resurfaced in my mind, her wisdom now echoing with newfound relevance. Some questions find answers only when we stop seeking them. In the tranquil embrace of the night, cradling the enigmatic box, I began to understand the profound truth hidden within her words. The shadows in the room twisted and swirled, mirroring the intricate patterns of the box, while the intoxicating scent grew more potent, weaving a hypnotic spell around me. Contemplating the generations who had passed through these walls, each gazing upon the unopened box, I questioned the importance of unraveling its secrets. Gently placing the box back on its perch, I sensed a subtle shift in the atmosphere, as if the ancient wood itself sighed in acceptance. The tiny eye on the lid seemed to smile, a silent acknowledgement of my choice to let the mystery linger undisturbed. Returning to the embrace of my armchair, a newfound tranquility settled over me, a sense of peace born from acceptance rather than understanding. The moonlight continued to bathe the room in its ethereal glow, infusing the night with a deeper, more profound silence. As I closed my eyes, allowing the lingering scent of the box to lull me towards slumber, a faint sound, like a sigh of relief, whispered from the mantelpiece. Or perhaps it was merely the playful dance of the wind with the curtains, a final echo of the secrets held within the ancient mahogany box. And in that moment, as sleep gently claimed me, I embraced the serenity that comes from accepting mysteries that need not be unraveled, knowing that some enigmas are meant to be cherished, not solved. Story 34. The grandfather clock in my study tolled midnight with its familiar deep resonance, each chime rippling through the still air like gentle waves on a pond. Nestled in my weathered leather armchair, a beloved book cradled in my lap, I savored the soothing patter of rain against the window panes. The old house murmured softly, its ancient wooden frame settling into the hush of the night. My gaze drifted to the hallway door, its shadowy outline illuminated by the soft glow of my reading lamp. Tonight, a subtle shift seemed to cloak it in an aura of mystery, though the nature of this change eluded me. Perhaps the brass handle caught the light in a different way, or maybe the wood's grain held a new secret. Despite dwelling in this abode for 15 years, Tonight, this door felt like a stranger in my midst. I rose from my seat, marking my page with a delicate silk ribbon. The floor beneath my slippered feet exuded a coolness that seeped through the plush fibers. As I neared the door, a chill enveloped me, as if a breath of winter had crept into this solitary corner of my dwelling. My hand grazed the handle, which unexpectedly radiated warmth, a stark departure from the icy air surrounding it. With a fluid motion, the door swung open, revealing the familiar hallway bathed in dim light. Everything seemed unchanged: the faded wallpaper, the threadbare carpet, the array of framed memories adorning the walls. Closing the door, I dismissed my fanciful thoughts. Perhaps my mind had been weaving tales inspired by the mystery novels I had been immersed in of late. That night, my dreams were woven with doors. They materialized in surreal settings, nestled in blooming gardens, suspended in the heavens, standing sentinel on deserted shores. Each door bore the same brass handle as the one in my hallway, emanating warmth amidst their incongruous surroundings. When dawn broke, I carried on with my routine, barely sparing a glance towards the hallway door. It wasn't until dusk descended, painting the sky in hues of twilight, that a peculiar sight caught my eye. The door appeared subtly altered, its hue lighter as if time had etched decades upon its surface overnight. The brass handle now bore a patina that hadn't adorned it before. Drawing closer, I scrutinized the door with a photographer's precision. The wood had metamorphosed, a lighter shade with a grain pattern unknown to me. Even the hinges had transitioned from their usual ebony to a lustrous copper hue. Yet upon opening it, the hallway beyond remained unaltered. Night after night, the door underwent subtle transformations. Its visage would age, then renew, the handle shifting imperceptibly, the frame gaining or shedding intricate carvings. To document this enigma, I meticulously kept a journal, immortalizing each metamorphosis with intricate sketches and detailed descriptions. The door remained steadfastly unchanging under my watchful eye. It was during the witching hours, when the house slumbered in silence and my focus wavered, that these shifts transpired. One eve, determined to unravel the mystery, I resolved to keep vigil and observe the door throughout the night. I positioned my armchair directly facing it, brewed a pot of potent tea, and settled in for my silent watch. The grandfather clock's steady cadence marked the passage of time as I stared, my eyelids heavy but my resolve unyielding. At 3:17 a.m., by the ticking of my watch, the lights flickered briefly, casting the room into momentary darkness. In that fleeting instance, a subtle tremor rippled through the air. When light was restored, the door had transformed once more. The warm oak had transmuted into a resplendent mahogany, delicate silver inlays dancing across its surface, seemingly alive when seen from the corner of my eye. Intrigued, I rose from my seat, drawn to these new details. My hand hovered over the handle, now crafted from crystal instead of brass. Yet, a strange vibration permeated the air around the door, akin to the lingering echo of a struck bell. It was then that I made a startling discovery. The door bore no keyhole, never had one in any of its forms. However, each morning as I traversed it, a keyhole had always been present, just beneath the handle. This detail was etched in my memory. Puzzled, I delved into my journal entries, searching for any mention of the keyhole, only to find none. Had I overlooked such a fundamental feature, or was something more enigmatic at play here? The question lingered like a phantom, an elusive whisper on the edge of my consciousness. Now, as twilight descends each evening, I ponder the door and its nightly transmutations. Occasionally, I glimpse alternate hallways through the slender gap beneath it, corridors adorned with unfamiliar carpets, wallpapers, and photographs. Yet, upon opening the door, my hallway unfailingly awaits me. The notion of rearranging the photographs crosses my mind, a test to confirm the authenticity of my perceptions. Yet, an unspoken caution restrains me, a silent warning from the depths of my psyche urging me not to delve too deeply into the shadows between certainty and mystery. The door continues to evolve, each night heralding a new iteration. I've grown accustomed to its silent metamorphosis, even finding solace in its enigmatic nature. Sometimes I ponder whether it is truly the door that changes, or if my perception of it shifts with each viewing. Perhaps both truths hold weight, or perhaps neither does. What remains certain is that when the grandfather clock tolls midnight, and the rain whispers against the window panes, I anticipate with quiet excitement the unveiling of the door's newest form, and the secrets it may unveil or safeguard in the tranquil hours before dawn. Story 35. The wooden floor whispered beneath my feet as I wandered through the dimming hallway, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. Grandma's house had always possessed a unique way of speaking, every creak and groan telling a story of its own. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and aged wood, a comforting fragrance that had lingered with me through all the summers of my youth. Yet on this particular evening, there was a subtle shift in the familiar atmosphere. Pausing in front of the weathered attic door, a detail caught my eye that had escaped notice until now. The once white paint, now worn and chipped, bore strange markings etched into its surface. Drawing closer, I realized these were no ordinary scratches of time, but rather deliberate patterns, as if a message had been painstakingly carved from within. As the sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows along the walls of the hallway, the only sounds were the steady tick-tock of the grandfather clock downstairs and the gentle rustling of leaves outside, stirred by the evening breeze. Running my fingers over the marks, I felt the rough texture of the wood beneath my touch. The scratches seemed purposeful, almost geometric in their layout, some shallow, others deeper, hinting at a history unknown to me. Lost in contemplation, I pondered how many times I had passed by this door without noticing its secrets. Grandma had never spoken of strange occurrences in the attic, yet a memory surfaced of her reluctance to ascend those stairs. A chill danced down my spine as a cold draft brushed past me, elongating the hallway and deepening the shadows. Taking down the aged brass key from its hook, I hesitantly inserted it into the lock, the metal cool against my skin, its floral engravings fading with time. With a hesitant turn, a faint sound reached my ears, a slow, almost imperceptible breath, seeming to emanate from beyond the door. My heart quickened as the noise ceased, leaving only the hush of the house around me. Summoning courage, I illuminated the door with the light from my phone, revealing hidden details previously shrouded in darkness. The scratches formed a circular motif, a spiral of mystery unfolding before me. In the center, delicate numbers were etched, barely visible to the naked eye, triggering a distant recollection of Grandma's mention of a hidden diary, safeguarding family secrets. The wind outside intensified, the windows protesting with eerie moans, while the shadows within the hallway danced to a spectral tune. A connection stirred within me, linking the numbers on the door to the elusive diary. Yet an unspoken force restrained me from opening that portal. A primal intuition passed down through generations of women in my lineage. As I retreated, a faint scratching sound echoed from the attic, not menacing but rhythmic and purposeful, as if a silent hand inscribed a new message. Glancing back one final time, the scratches seemed to shimmer with a faint luminescence in the dwindling light, beckoning yet cautioning. That night, nestled in bed, thoughts of the enigmatic numbers consumed me. I transcribed them in my journal, vowing to return the following day for further investigation. But upon awakening, the attic door bore no trace of the markings, appearing as ordinary as ever, save for the brass key, quietly holding its enigmatic secret. Since that day, each visit to Grandma's house draws me back to that door. At times, I swear the scratches resurface in the dimness, or the faint breath whispers from the other side. Yet I resist the urge to unlock the mysteries held within, for some enigmas are best preserved in the hush of an ancient abode, safeguarded by those attuned to its murmurs. As I awaken, a heavy sensation envelops me like a leaden shroud, a familiar weight that holds me in place. The room is bathed in a gentle, pearlescent glow, its source a mystery shrouded in soft hues. The walls possess an ever-shifting color, a subtle dance of shades that play tricks on my eyes with each glance. The ceiling stretches far above, disappearing into a velvety darkness, reminiscent of a starless sky. My body rests upon a bed of remarkable softness, the silk sheets whispering against my skin as I shift. A scent lingers in the air, sweet and comforting, yet elusive in its familiarity. It teases my senses, morphing from hints of lavender to whispers of vanilla, a tantalizing game of olfactory hide-and-seek. In this peculiar space, time flows in a peculiar manner. Shadows waltz across the walls, their movements slow and hypnotic, as if imbued with a life force all their own. The silence, though never absolute, is underscored by a distant murmur, akin to the tranquil breaths of a deep slumber, or perhaps the echo of my own heartbeat resonating in the void. Rising from the bed, my bare feet tread upon a carpet so plush it feels as though I walk upon clouds. The room's furnishings are sparse: a dark wood desk, a velvet armchair of deep burgundy, and an oval mirror encased in a frame of gleaming gold. The mirror, perpetually misted over, hints at a recent presence, a ghostly reminder of an unseen visitor. Approaching the desk, an array of items greets me each day. Today, a weathered leather-bound diary, a midnight blue fountain pen, and a cup of tea exuding a gentle wisp of steam. The tea, still warm, beckons though I have no recollection of preparing it. The diary's pages lie blank, yet beneath my touch, phantom words seem to stir, invisible ink whispering untold secrets. Sinking into the inviting embrace of the armchair, the velvet yields to my warmth, as if retaining the essence of a previous occupant. From this vantage point, a peculiar sight captures my attention, a subtle pulsing in the wall before me, akin to the rhythmic rise and fall of slumbering breaths. Upon closer inspection, the illusion dissipates, leaving behind a solid, unmoving surface. As always, I seek a door, my hands tracing the walls in search of an escape. Faint outlines tease my touch, elusive as fleeting memories, dissolving like mist at dawn. The misted mirror draws my gaze, offering glimpses of my reflection, yet subtly distorted. Movements appear delayed, as if mirrored by a hesitant twin. At times, amidst the fog, a fleeting image materializes, a figure gazing back at me, a silent interloper in this timeless realm. Time unfolds erratically, the room's light shifting in a dance divorced from the dictates of day and night. Minutes blur into hours as I lose myself in the diary, the room's shadows playing tricks on my sense of time. Returning to the bed, I surrender once more to its embrace, the sheets seeming to cradle me with a life of their own. The scent in the air grows stronger, evoking memories of bygone perfumes, freshly baked treats, or the petrichor of summer rain. As I drift towards sleep, a question lingers in the recesses of my mind. Am I dreaming the room, or is the room dreaming me? The boundaries blur, reality intertwining with imagination in a tapestry of uncertainty. In this twilight realm, where waking and dreaming meld into a seamless whole, I ponder the existence of an exit, a way out of this cyclical dance. Yet, a part of me wonders if perhaps I have already found my escape, if the room has become an intrinsic part of my being, a mirror to my soul. As slumber claims me once more, I embrace the enigma, content in the eternal cycle of dream and wakefulness, where reality and fantasy intertwine like hues on a canvas freshly painted, a tranquil lullaby weaving through the fabric of time. Story 37. The November rain softly tapped against the windows of Grandma Rose's attic, crafting a natural symphony that always brought me a deep sense of tranquility. Returning there after many years to sift through her belongings, now that she had departed, I was enveloped by the scent of aged wood and weathered books that lingered in the air. The twilight's soft glow filtered through the half-closed shutters, casting whimsical shadows upon the vintage wallpaper. Nestled in a forgotten corner, veiled by a delicate layer of dust, I stumbled upon Grandma's old brass record player, gleaming like a polished mirror. It was a relic from another era, adorned with intricate floral patterns on its mechanical arm, and a turntable that appeared untouched by time. Beside it, a collection of vinyl records stood in orderly rows within worn cardboard sleeves. As my fingers skimmed through the records, they paused on one in particular. Its cover was pure white, devoid of any title or author, save for a thin golden border that shimmered in the dim light. I couldn't recall ever seeing it before, yet I knew every record in Grandma Rose's collection by heart. Driven by an irresistible curiosity, I resolved to play it. The record player sprang to life with a faint, familiar hum. Gently, I positioned the record on the turntable and lowered the arm. Initially, there was only the gentle crackling of vinyl, then the music commenced. It was a melody entirely new to my ears, a waltz performed on the piano, but there was an oddity in the way the notes intertwined. The music seemed to subtly shift with each revolution of the record, as if the notes were rearranging themselves into novel harmonies. I closed my eyes, surrendering to the enigmatic composition. Fragrances of jasmine, Grandma Rose's beloved flower, seemed to waft around me, though it was midwinter and impossible. When I opened my eyes, the shadows in the room moved in an unfamiliar manner, no longer following the natural path of the fading twilight, but swaying to the rhythm of that mysterious melody. Before me, on the wall, I distinctly perceived the silhouette of a figure dancing, despite my solitude. The waltz persisted, and amidst the piano's melody, I discerned the faint sound of a laughter I knew well. It was Grandma Rose's laughter, as clear as crystal, as I had always remembered. A shiver coursed through me, not of fear, but of a peculiar blend of nostalgia and wonder. Rising from the armchair, I approached the window. In the glass's reflection, I glimpsed the room behind me, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Grandma Rose, youthful and radiant in her cherished dance attire, twirling in the heart of the attic. Yet upon turning around, she was nowhere to be found. The record spun until its final note faded into silence, leaving the room subtly transformed. It felt warmer, more vibrant, as if that ephemeral musical interlude had roused dormant memories within the very walls of the house. That night, as I returned the enigmatic record to its white sleeve, I noticed a detail I had overlooked. Inscribed on the inner edge in Grandma Rose's elegant script was a date, her wedding day. Beneath it, in nearly imperceptible letters, a message: music is the key to our most precious memories. Since then, whenever I revisit the attic, I seek out that particular record. Sometimes it reveals itself readily, while other times it seems to elude me among the other vinyls. And with each listen, the melody unfolds in subtle variations, as though harboring endless renditions of the same memory. I have never deciphered whether it was a special gift for Grandma Rose or something more enigmatic. Yet, one thing remains certain. On those rainy evenings, when the record player begins its ethereal melody, the attic brims with a delicate enchantment. In those fleeting moments, the boundary between present and past, reality and memory, thins to the fragility of an aged photograph. And perhaps, during those interludes, Grandma Rose dances still, eternal in her youth, eternal in her joy, in an everlasting waltz. Story 38. The November breeze whispered through the brittle leaves scattered along the driveway as I gazed at the looming outline of the forsaken mansion silhouetted against the heavy, overcast sky. Known as the never-inhabited house, a misnomer of sorts, for it had indeed been a home to someone long forgotten. Yet the memories had faded like shadows. I ventured closer to the weathered gate, the touch of the cold wrought iron sending a shiver down my spine. The air carried a peculiar fragrance of damp moss and ancient stone, enveloping me in a sense of mystery and nostalgia. The neglected garden sprawled with unruly thorns and vines, reclaiming the walls with nature's embrace. Despite its neglect, the mansion exuded a haunting elegance that captivated my senses. In my role as a real estate agent, I had been tasked with assessing the property for its valuation. The current owner, an elderly gentleman residing overseas, sought to part ways with the estate he had inherited from a distant relative. Curiosity led me through the entangled garden, where I stumbled upon a curious sight. Amidst the weeds, faint trails seemed to have been recently traversed, hinting at a presence unknown. The assurances of the neighbors claiming the property to be uninhabited clashed with the evidence before me. With a soft creak, the front door yielded to my touch, revealing a world veiled in a bluish twilight that filtered through the veiled shutters. The air inside hung heavy with dust and the essence of aged wood, each step echoing through the chambers. As I wandered through the main salon, the furniture draped in ghostly sheets cast eerie silhouettes in the half-light. Enormous veiled mirrors on the walls played tricks with the limited light, distorting reality into a dance of shadows. Ascending the staircase, my grip on the polished wooden handrail connected me to the countless souls who had once roamed these halls. The corridor above housed a series of closed doors, each revealing empty spaces frozen in time, save for a few shrouded remnants of the past. It was in the final room that a sense of unease crept upon me. A bedroom, likely belonging to a woman, presented a scene untouched by time, yet subtly disturbed. A silver brush lay beside strands of dark, fresh hair, defying the layers of dust that blanketed the room. The perfectly arranged bed bore a faint impression, as if a phantom had lingered there. An inexplicable chill coursed through me as a flicker of movement reflected in the mirror, hinting at a presence that eluded my sight. Hastening my descent down the stairs, I found myself enveloped in shifting shadows as daylight waned. Just as I reached for the exit, a haunting melody, soft and distant, drifted down from the upper floors, its melancholic notes tugging at my senses. Was it the wind's gentle whisper, or a figment of my imagination? I departed, closing the door behind me, leaving behind a realm veiled in secrets. Outside, the tranquility of the garden greeted me, the wind now a gentle caress. Glancing back at the mansion, a fleeting glimpse of a pale glow behind an upstairs window flickered and vanished. In the days that followed, I meticulously crafted my report on the property, omitting the inexplicable occurrences within its walls. Instead, I penned a cryptic note, hinting at the unique allure that the house held for a discerning buyer. The mansion lingered on the market, a silent sentinel of a forgotten era. And on occasions when I passed by the rusted gate, I fancied I caught glimpses of a spectral figure drifting through the upper rooms, as if tethered to the mansion by an unseen force. Perhaps the enigma of the never-inhabited house lay not in its abandonment, but in the timeless presence that dwelled within, eternally waiting or perhaps never having left. Story 39. Night draped the house in a soft, hushed embrace, as the wind murmured gently through the leaves of the ancient tree in the garden. Nestled in the armchair in my bedroom, I watched as shadows pirouetted on the walls in the flickering lamplight. It was that magical hour when the tendrils of sleep began to weave their spell, yet a curious resistance held me in its grip. Night after night, for what felt like an eternity, a particular dream visited me with unwavering precision. The room exuded warmth, the steady beat of the old clock a comforting lullaby. My gaze wandered to the open diary resting on the desk, its pages a testament to the recurring dream that had ensnared my nights. Each night, without fail, I found myself on a journey through a gray stone spiral staircase spiraling into darkness, the distant echoes of water droplets filling the air, and a grand wooden door adorned with cryptic symbols. As my fingers traced the words in my precise handwriting, a new realization dawned upon me. In each iteration of the dream, a subtle chill crept into the air as I descended the staircase. my breath forming ethereal clouds. Yet, what truly intrigued me was the uncanny sense of déjà vu that clung to me like a shadow, as if the staircase led to a place known to me intimately, though never visited in waking life. At the foot of the stairs stood the enigmatic door, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to shift and writhe under my scrutiny, alive with a mysterious energy. Night after night, I inched closer to deciphering their secrets, my fingertips tingling as they danced along the intricate carvings, and with each touch a faint vibration reverberated through the wood, as if the door itself pulsed with a hidden heartbeat. On that fateful evening, a subtle change caught my eye as I readied for slumber. A bronze key, ancient and ornate, lay upon the nightstand beside the lamp, its design reminiscent of the symbols that adorned the dream door. Picking it up, I marveled at its weight and the icy touch it exuded. Although its origins remained a mystery, its presence felt as natural as the air I breathed, as if it had always belonged by my side. Drifting into the realm of dreams, a sense of anticipation tingled in the air. The familiar sequence unfolded, the spiral descent, the haunting echoes, the gradual descent into icy tendrils of air. But this time, a new chapter awaited. As I stood before the door, the key thrummed in my grasp, resonating with the symbols etched into the wood. With trembling hands, I inserted the key into a concealed lock, a soft melody echoing as the mechanism turned. Slowly the door swung open, revealing not a room but a mirror reflecting the staircase behind me. Yet, in the mirror's gaze the steps ascended instead of descending, a tantalizing invitation beckoning me forth. Startled awake in the soft glow of dawn, the key still nestled in my palm, now pulsating with a warmth that felt almost alive. Upon the open diary laid on the desk, a new page awaited, its characters akin to the shifting symbols on the dream door, undulating like waves upon a sea of ink. Since that transformative night, the dream has eluded me, leaving behind a lingering mystery. The key rests by my bedside, occasionally whispering its secrets in the stillness of the night. I find myself captivated by the enigmatic symbols that continue to dance across the pages, weaving a tale that eludes my grasp. Perhaps one day, I will summon the courage to ascend the mirrored staircase and unravel the mysteries that lie beyond. But for now, I am content to watch, to listen, and to dream in the tranquil embrace of the night. Story 40. The night was shrouded in a profound stillness, broken only by a distant, ethereal melody that drifted through the darkness like a whisper. Nestled in my cherished armchair, a cozy woolen blanket draped over my knees, and a forgotten cup of chamomile tea resting cold on the side table beside me, I lifted my gaze from the book that lay open in my hands. The music, delicate and haunting, wove its way into the room, captivating me with its elusive beauty. It was the sound of a piano, its notes dancing on the air like snowflakes, evoking a sense of nostalgia that tugged at the edges of my memory. The only light in the room emanated from a small lamp perched beside my chair, casting a warm glow that enveloped me in a circle of soft light. Shadows flickered and danced along the walls, moving in harmony with the mysterious melody that filled the space. Slowly, I rose from my seat, the blanket slipping from my shoulders with a gentle rustle. Each step I took across the wooden floor echoed faintly in the silent house as I made my way to the living room window. Outside, the world lay tranquil and serene under the silver light of the full moon. The garden glistened, bathed in its celestial glow, while the trees swayed gently in the nocturnal breeze, their silhouettes like silent sentinels in the night. Not a sound disturbed the peacefulness, not a soul stirred in the neighboring houses, yet the music continued to weave its enchanting spell, seeming to emanate from all directions at once. I wandered through the rooms of my home, following the elusive melody as it shifted and changed, leading me on a mysterious journey through familiar spaces. In the kitchen, it whispered from the living room, In the living room, it beckoned from the stairs. On the stairs, it descended from the upper floor. It was a mesmerizing game of echoes and shadows that guided me with a silent grace. Upon reaching my bedroom on the upper floor, I noticed the door slightly ajar, a detail that unsettled me, as I was certain I had left it wide open earlier that day. Moonbeams filtered through the sheer curtains, casting intricate patterns on the floor, illuminating the room in a ghostly light. The music, now more distinct and alluring, seemed to draw me closer to its source. Standing at the threshold, I surveyed the room with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity. There, on the bedside table, my ancient music box, a relic from my grandmother, gleamed in the dimness. For years I had believed it to be broken, never daring to open it. Yet now, in the hush of the night, its tiny ballerina twirled in a mesmerizing dance, casting shadows that mirrored her movements on the walls. The melody that filled the room was the same that had led me there, but now it swelled with a newfound clarity, as if I had at last drawn near to its heart. I approached the music box with cautious steps, my heart beating in time with its enchanting tune. The box seemed to radiate a faint warmth, its surface tingling beneath my fingertips. As I reached out to touch it, I beheld a sight that sent shivers down my spine. The ballerina, once a simple porcelain figure, now bore the unmistakable features of my grandmother, her familiar smile etched on her delicate face. Her eyes seemed to meet mine in a fleeting gaze, and in that instant, the melody transformed into a tender lullaby, a melody of my childhood that had long been buried in the recesses of memory. Transfixed, I stood transfixed, enveloped in the music that wrapped around me like a gentle embrace. There was no fear, only a profound sense of peace and longing that washed over me. The notes lingered in the air, gradually fading like echoes in the night, until the final strains ebbed away, and the music box closed with a soft click. Silence descended once more upon the house, but it was a different kind of silence, pregnant with meaning and revelation. Descending to my armchair below, I retrieved the fallen blanket, wrapping it snugly around my shoulders once more. The book lay open before me, its pages filled with words I could no longer focus on, my mind consumed by the enigma of the music box and the spectral presence of my grandmother. In the quiet of subsequent nights, when the house lay hushed and the moon bathed the garden in its silvery light, a familiar melody would fill the air, drifting through the rooms like a cherished memory. I no longer sought its origin, content to close my eyes and surrender to its haunting beauty, for some mysteries are best left unsolved, their truths whispered in the language of music and dreams. Story 41. The rain whispered against the windows of the tavern, creating a soothing symphony that harmonized with the gentle clinks of cups and the hushed conversations of the few lingering patrons. Seated at the bar, I observed the play of light reflecting off the polished mahogany surface, dancing in a mesmerizing rhythm. Jack, the bartender, polished glasses with deliberate, almost trance-like motions. There was a new intensity in his gaze that evening, a depth I had never before perceived in my habitual visits. Behind his dark eyes, hidden thoughts seemed to swirl as he prepared my customary lavender tea. While his hands moved with customary precision, a subtle tremor betrayed his composure as he placed the steaming cup before me. The fragrance of lavender wafted through the air, mingling with the scent of coffee and the aged wood that saturated the tavern. Jack's wary glances flitted towards a shadowed table in the far corner, where a solitary figure sat motionless, blending into the backdrop like a specter. With measured steps, Jack approached to refill my cup, his controlled breath belying an underlying tension in his voice when he inquired if I desired anything more. In that moment, a disconcerting detail caught my eye, a faint reddish stain marring the cuff of his otherwise pristine white shirt, barely visible in the dim ambience. Time ebbed away as the rain persisted in its rhythmic descent, coaxing the other patrons to bid their farewells, leaving vacant seats and abandoned cups in their wake. Only the enigmatic figure in the corner lingered, a silent sentinel awaiting an unknown arrival. Jack meticulously tended to the bar, his meticulous actions betraying a mounting unease, while the pendulum clock's steady beat marked the passage of time. Another detail emerged, a weathered notebook, concealed beneath the counter amidst the bottles, its pages yellowed with age. As Jack busied himself with the final patron, my gaze drifted to the meticulous script within the notebook, documenting a sequence of names, dates, and places. Yet it was the cryptic notations on the final pages that captured my attention. A series of seemingly nonsensical numbers accompanied by intricate symbols, etched with painstaking precision. The sound of footsteps drew my focus upwards. The mysterious figure had finally stirred from their secluded alcove, making their way towards the exit. A silent exchange of glances transpired between them and Jack as they passed the bar, laden with unspoken tension. Jack offered a subtle nod, and the stranger dissolved into the rainy night. Returning to his cores, Jack's demeanor had shifted, his hands, typically steady, now trembling as he stowed away the glassware. His gaze appeared distant, lost in contemplation or perhaps evasion of significant memories. Just as I prepared to depart, Jack halted me with a gentle gesture. "There are things," he began in a soft, almost secretive tone, "that a bartender witnesses and absorbs, secrets that are best left entombed within these walls. Yet there are times when the burden of these confidences becomes too weighty to bear alone." He paused, deliberating his next words with care. Turning towards him, I noted the wariness etched upon his countenance, illuminated by the flickering lamplight. The notebook lay partially concealed amidst the bottles, harboring untold truths within its weathered pages. A faint, strained smile tugged at Jack's lips, failing to reach his weary eyes. "Return tomorrow," he murmured, "and perhaps I shall share a tale, or perhaps not." Stepping out into the enveloping night, the rain continued its gentle descent. Through the tavern's window, I glimpsed Jack resuming his meticulous cleaning ritual, a facade of normalcy concealing the enigma that lay beneath. The lights within the establishment dimmed as I drifted away, allowing the darkness to shroud the mysteries nestled within those walls. I pondered the myriad untold stories concealed behind bar counters, the silent sentinels like Jack guarding burdensome secrets. Yet the answers eluded me, veiled by the soothing patter of rain persisting in the starless night. Story 42. The night had enveloped the house in a cocoon of profound quiet, broken only by the gentle tap of raindrops on the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the shadows waltz across the walls, in perfect harmony with the flickering firelight. The warmth wrapped around me like a soft embrace, while the fragrance of burning wood mingled with the delicate scent of vanilla tea cradled in my hands. In that moment of tranquil bliss, my gaze fell upon something peculiar in my niece's toy room, peeking through the slightly open door. An ancient porcelain music box, a keepsake from Grandma, seemed to radiate a faint bluish luminescence. I couldn't recall ever seeing it glow like that before. Slowly, I rose from the armchair, placing the teacup on the wooden side table. Each step I took on the floor emitted a gentle creak, blending with the rain's rhythm, weaving an almost hypnotic melody. Drawing nearer to the door, the glow intensified yet retained its gentle hue, resembling moonlight reflected on a placid lake. The toy room was a sanctuary of reminiscences and enchantment. Weathered wooden shelves held porcelain dolls in Victorian attire, vibrant toy trains, and plush creatures with benevolent gazes. Nestled on the central shelf, the music box held a special place, encircled by tiny crystals my niece had gathered on her garden strolls. The porcelain ballerina atop the music box, typically frozen in her eternal pose, swayed ever so slightly, as if kissed by an unseen breeze. Moving closer, I noticed the room's temperature was notably cooler than the rest of the house. My breath materialized in the air, forming wisps of vapor, while the crystals surrounding the music box seemed to react to its light, casting miniature rainbows on the walls. The ballerina continued her subtle movements, and I could almost discern a faint melody in the distance, akin to a musical whisper from a bygone era. Extending my hand towards the music box, the blue light pulsed gently. The other dolls on the shelf seemed to have turned their heads towards me, but in the blink of an eye, they reverted to their original positions. The melody grew clearer. It was Grandma's cherished lullaby, a tune I had believed forgotten. The music box commenced spinning of its own accord, at a deliberate pace. The ballerina twirled with an unearthly grace, her motions fluid like those of a true dancer. The crystals now cast intricate patterns on the ceiling, weaving designs that seemed to narrate tales of ancient times. The room's atmosphere thickened with memories, as if time itself had condensed around that small, enchanted object. Transfixed by the spectacle, I stood immobile. The music from the box intertwined with the rain's melody, creating a symphony that resonated with nostalgia and concealed mysteries. The shadows in the room appeared to sway to the music's cadence, and for an instant, I felt as though I were not the solitary observer of this private performance. Slowly, the melody began to fade, slipping away like a fleeting dream. The blue light of the music box dimmed to a barely perceptible glow, and the ballerina's dance slowed until she stilled completely. Silence descended upon the room, yet it was a different silence, pregnant with significance and enigma. Returning to my armchair, I lifted my now tepid tea. As I watched the dying embers in the fireplace, my thoughts drifted to Grandma and her penchant for objects imbued with tales. I pondered whether she had ever encountered something akin to this, whether the music box had always possessed that magic, or if it was a rare gift bestowed upon select moments and observers. Since that fateful night, whenever I pass by the toy room, I steal a glance at the music box. Occasionally, I believe I catch a fleeting glimpse of a blue glow or hear the initial notes of that forgotten lullaby. Yet perhaps it is merely memories pirouetting in my mind, akin to that porcelain ballerina on that rainy evening. Story 43. Night draped the ancient countryside house in a profound serenity. Nestled in my cherished armchair beside the crackling fireplace, I observed the shadows waltz on the walls while the flames leisurely devoured the logs. The warmth enveloped me like a cozy quilt as the autumn wind outside tenderly brushed the tree leaves. Amid this perfect calm, a peculiar sound reached my ears, a clear, childlike laughter resonating from the upper floor of the house, a laughter akin to silver bells. Pausing to listen, I let the sound intertwine with the fire's crackle. It held no menace. Instead, it was a joyful, almost melodic laughter. Yet, I had dwelled alone in this house for over 2 decades, never welcoming children within its walls. Curiosity stirred within me like a gentle stream, gradually dispelling the drowsiness that nearly overcame me. With deliberate movements, I rose from the armchair, relishing the sensation of my feet meeting the aged Persian rug. The floorboards whispered softly as I made my way towards the staircase. The candlelight in the living room cast a warm and inviting glow, projecting my silhouette on the walls in a silent dance. Ascending the stairs, I sensed the air growing cooler with each step. Not a chilling cold, but a tender caress on the skin, reminiscent of the ocean breeze. The laughter echoed once more, closer this time, emanating from the guest room. A room seldom used, adorned with antique furniture draped in white sheets that swayed gently, moved by an unseen draft. The door stood slightly ajar, emitting a silvery light distinct from any other in the house. Not moonlight, too warm for that, nor electric lamps. It was a unique glow, pulsating softly, akin to a tranquil heartbeat. As the ancient wood sang a familiar tune when pushed, the room unfolded before me, bathed in that mysterious luminescence. The sheet-covered furniture formed gentle, reassuring shapes, resembling clouds in a clear sky. And there, perched on the window ledge, I beheld a sight that stole my breath. Not a definite figure, but a play of light and shadow, resembling a child. The laughter echoed once more, clearly originating from that luminous presence. No fear gripped me, only profound wonder. The light child toyed with the rays it emitted, painting luminous patterns on the walls as if crafting with light itself. Drawing nearer, the room's temperature oscillated between cool and warm, like waves lapping at the shore. As I approached, a sense of familiarity washed over me. In its fluid movements, I recognized echoes of my childhood play. The realization dawned upon me like a forgotten memory. That crystalline, pure laughter belonged to my childhood self. Time seemed to stretch as I observed this surreal spectacle. The light child continued its silent game, interrupted sporadically by that melodious laughter now echoing like a reverberation from the past. I refrained from speaking or disrupting the enchantment, fearing to shatter the spell of peace and nostalgia. Gradually, the silvery light dimmed, akin to the sun setting on a winter evening. The child's form grew increasingly ethereal until only a faint glow remained. The final laughter I heard was a whispered farewell, a tender goodbye before fading into darkness. I lingered in the room for what felt like an eternity, enveloped in a soothing silence. The furniture sheets ceased their sway, and the air reverted to its usual temperature, yet something had shifted. The guest room, once a repository of dusty memories, now cradled a precious enigma. Returning to my armchair beside the fireplace, the flames burning softly, I realized I would never fully grasp what unfolded that night. Was it a dream, a recollection, or perchance something deeper, a message from the past materializing through a child's laughter in the shadows? Since that night, whenever I passed by the guest room, I paused to listen. On the stillest nights, I fancied hearing the distant echo of that crystalline laughter, akin to a gentle lullaby guiding me towards slumber. And with a smile, I let the mystery linger, a sweet secret shared between myself and the child who laughed in the darkness. Story 44. The night was draped in a blanket of silence, broken only by the rhythmic melody of the train wheels whispering along the tracks. Nestled in the final carriage, I found myself enveloped in a gentle, dim light that swayed softly from the fixtures above. The air held a comforting warmth, while the steady motion of the train cast a spell of almost hypnotic tranquility. Peering through the window, I watched as the mist outside pirouetted lazily in the darkness, morphing into fleeting shapes that dissolved into the night. In that moment, I believed myself to be the sole inhabitant of the carriage, the solitary traveler in this nocturnal voyage. Yet, a peculiar sensation crept upon me as I gazed at my reflection in the window's glass. An enigmatic presence seemed to lurk on the other side, merging with the shadows beyond. The lullaby of the rails, a mechanical symphony, carried me closer to the edge of sleep. And it was then, within the mirrored glass, that I spied a shadow lingering behind me, a figure seated a few rows away. Bewilderment washed over me, for I had not recalled another soul boarding the train, yet there they sat, a mysterious silhouette etched in the dimness. As the train journeyed deeper into the night, the ancient tales whispered by the wheels intertwined with the essence of the past. Turning cautiously, I beheld the amber-lit carriage, its empty seats casting elongated shadows across the cabin. The figure I had glimpsed remained still, cloaked in darkness, their countenance concealed beneath the brim of a wide hat. Time itself appeared to wane as I scrutinized that silent sentinel, a spectral companion amidst the hum of the train. The air grew heavy with unseen memories, a weight I could not discern. The enigmatic passenger sat immobile, a statue amidst the moving carriages, as though an integral part of the train's very soul. With measured steps, feigning a casual stroll towards the rear of the car, I drew closer to the mysterious presence. Their cloak, a fabric that seemed to swallow light, exuded an icy chill, carrying hints of lavender and aged parchment. Passing by the vacant seat occupied by the mysterious voyager, time paused, the distant rumble of the tracks fading into oblivion. A disquieting realization seized me. The figure beneath the dark shroud did not stir, no subtle rise and fall of breath. Reaching the end of the carriage, uncertainty lingered in my steps, torn between advancing to the next car or retracing my path. The corridor stretched endlessly, the flickering lights casting a mesmerizing dance upon the floor. Glancing back, the seat where the enigmatic figure had sat stood empty. In its stead, an ancient train ticket lay, its edges yellowed with time's embrace. With trembling hands, I retrieved the ticket, its date marking 50 years past on this very day. Warmth radiated from the aged paper, as though it had been clutched by unseen fingers mere moments before. Returning to my seat, the ticket a fragile relic in my grasp, the train's wheels resumed their soothing cadence. Outside, the mist had thickened, veiling the world in obscurity. Through the haze, shadowy forms seemed to tread alongside the train, silent companions in this nocturnal odyssey. As weariness descended upon me, I pondered how many others had crossed paths with the spectral passenger on the final train of the night. The ticket, a tangible link to that ethereal encounter, appeared to fade like a dream slipping from grasp upon waking. The train pressed on through the shroud of night, bearing its secrets and its unseen passengers through the veils of darkness. Drifting into slumber, a hint of lavender lingered in the air, accompanied by the echo of retreating footsteps fading down the corridor of the carriage. Story 45. In the hush of night, a delicate mist swirled like a ghostly waltz. Nestled in my cherished armchair, the rich burgundy velvet one beside the grand vintage mirror, I delved into a book under the gentle glow of an aged lamp. The pendulum clock's steady beat echoed with a mesmerizing cadence, while the crackling warmth of the hearth wrapped me in a snug cocoon. Amid this serene moment, a peculiar sensation stirred within me. Initially, it was a fleeting notion, akin to catching a movement at the corner of your eye. Lifting my gaze from the book, I peered at my reflection in the ancient mirror. The ornate golden frame, adorned with intricate floral motifs, shimmered softly in the flickering firelight. Yet as I scrutinized my mirrored self, a subtle chill crept down my spine. Something was amiss, almost imperceptibly so. Tilting my head, my reflection mirrored the action with a faint delay, as if striving to mimic rather than mirror my gestures naturally. I attempted to dismiss it as mere fatigue or the play of flickering fire shadows. Yet the longer I stared, the more unsettling the reflection became. Raising my right hand, the mirrored version hesitated briefly before mimicking the motion. A smile painted on my lips elicited a delayed response from the reflection. The crackling of wood in the fireplace now carried a hint of menace, as if conveying a hidden message. The air thickened, pregnant with a subtle tension that coerced me into slow, measured breaths. The scent of melting candle wax intertwined with an antique aroma, reminiscent of forgotten tomes and faded memories. Rising from the armchair with deliberate languor, my mirrored self mimicked my movements with an unnatural fluidity, executing a rehearsed dance rather than mirroring my spontaneity. Those mirrored eyes appeared deeper, harboring secrets beyond my reach. Closing the distance to the mirror, I discerned further disquieting details. The reflected room bore subtle discrepancies from my own, a rearrangement of books on the shelves, unfamiliar objects scattered about. An aged photograph depicting a seascape in my realm revealed a blurry countenance fixated on me in the reflection. While the pendulum clock maintained its relentless tempo, in the mirrored world, time seemed to flow at a languid pace, diverging from our reality. Shadows cast by the fireplace cavorted on the walls, crafting enigmatic silhouettes, hinting at silent watchers. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the chill surface of the mirror, and my reflection extended an almost welcoming hand. Our fingertips met on the icy glass, yet while I felt the cold sting, My mirrored self seemed to register a different sensation altogether. Retreating from the mirror, my reflection lingered momentarily, as if deliberating whether to shadow my movements. When it finally moved, its actions bore even less resemblance to mine, gradually asserting its autonomy. Retrieving an old velvet cloth, I veiled the mirror's surface. A cryptic smile flickered across my reflection's face, a visage foreign to my own. As the fabric draped over the mirror, concealing that disquieting doppelganger, I couldn't shake the feeling of a presence lurking behind the velvet shroud. Since that fateful night, the mirror has remained cloaked. At times, in the still of night, whispers of movement seem to emanate from beyond the fabric, as though a parallel existence unfolds in a mirrored realm identical to mine. And in the deepest tranquility, when the house slumbers in profound silence, I ponder whether that reflection still lingers, waiting, leading a mirrored life parallel to my own in a realm of glass and silver. The truth eludes me. I cannot ascertain if what transpired that night was real or a creation of my mind. Yet, whenever I pass a mirror, a niggling doubt lingers, questioning whether the reflection before me is truly mine, or a cunning mimic that blurs the line between reality and illusion. Story 46. The gentle evening breeze whispered through the open window, carrying the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers from the garden into the room. Nestled in my beloved armchair, I found myself entranced by the shadows waltzing across the walls, painted by the flickering candlelight. Beside me rested my trusty old Polaroid camera, a cherished heirloom from my grandmother that had stood the test of time. Though it had been ages since I last clicked its shutter, an inexplicable urge nudged me to pick it up that particular night. The familiar weight of the camera in my hands offered a comforting reassurance as I inspected its weathered exterior in the dim glow. Almost instinctively, my fingers gravitated towards the shutter button, a motion ingrained through countless snapshots captured in the past. Without deliberation, I aimed the lens towards the dimmest corner of the room and clicked. The sudden flash pierced the darkness, followed by the mechanical hum of the photograph materializing before me. As the image slowly materialized, a peculiar discovery caught my eye. Nestled in the corner I had immortalized, a vague figure materialized in the photograph. Its form was ethereal, almost ghostly, hovering like a wisp of smoke, assuming a faintly human shape. My initial impulse was to glance towards the corner in reality, only to find nothing there. Intrigued by this enigma, I snapped another picture in the same direction. To my astonishment, the subsequent photograph revealed a markedly different scene. The figure had shifted closer to the lens, its contours slightly more defined. A semblance of a face emerged, albeit obscured by a hazy veil. A subtle chill traversed my spine, not born of fear, but rather a profound sense of intrigue. Compelled by an unseen force, I continued to capture frame after frame, each unveiling the figure, inching nearer, gradually materializing with each exposure. It was as though the figure utilized the photographs as a conduit to manifest itself, each click granting it further substance in our realm. The indistinct outlines morphed into a semblance of a bygone era's attire, perhaps reminiscent of the 1940s. A profound stillness pervaded the room, the atmosphere thick with an unseen presence that I could sense but not see. The air grew heavier, the candle flame flickering in the absence of any breeze. Persisting in my photographic trance, I documented the unfolding narrative with deliberate slowness, relishing the silent communion transpiring before me. In the final picture of that mystifying evening, the figure loomed so close that it dominated the frame. A soft smile graced the woman's countenance, her eyes seemingly meeting mine through the glossy finish of the Polaroid. There existed a profound familiarity in that visage, stirring dormant memories from the depths of my childhood. Only when I rose to retrieve an aged photo album did I realize the faint tremor in my hands. Leafing through the yellowed pages, I stumbled upon the revelation I sought. A vintage photograph of my grandmother in her youth, captured by the very same Polaroid. The mirrored smile in that aged portrait mirrored the one I had immortalized in the final photograph. Arranging the snapshots in chronological order on the nearby table, a silent narrative emerged, a tale of connection bridging two worlds, woven through the lens of an antiquated camera. I refrained from revisiting the experiment, and the Polaroid found its place back on the shelf. Yet on tranquil evenings when the sunlight bathed the room in a golden hue, I would return to my armchair and gaze upon those photographs. At times, it appeared as though the smile in the images subtly shifted, as if my grandmother endeavored to convey a message across the ethereal divide. In those fleeting moments, the boundaries separating the realms of memory and reality blurred, akin to the delicate surface of a freshly developed Polaroid. Story 47. The night held a special essence, a touch of autumn seeping into your very being, whispering of the impending embrace of longer nights. Nestled in the cozy armchair of my study, I savored the gentle caress of the wind outside, a lullaby woven by the rustling leaves. Amid this tranquil moment, a faint noise stirred from the depths of the basement, akin to the delicate crinkle of aged paper. Initially dismissing it as the usual settling of the house, those familiar nocturnal murmurs, I rose from my seat, driven more by curiosity than alarm. The warm glow of the desk lamp enveloped me in a golden aura as I approached the basement door. Each wooden step beneath me emitted a soft creak, whispering ancient tales into the stillness. The air grew cooler with each descent, carrying hints of damp earth and musty books long forgotten. Shadows waltzed across the walls in the basement, swaying to the flickering rhythm of the light bulb. An intimate space, filled with neatly arranged boxes and shrouded furniture resembling slumbering spirits. Yet on this particular evening, an anomaly caught my eye. In the dimmest corner, where light struggled to penetrate, stood a door. Simple in appearance, crafted from dark wood devoid of adornments, this door puzzled me, for I had never before acknowledged its existence despite hours spent organizing in the basement. The brass handle gleamed unusually bright, as if recently tended to. Drawing nearer, the chill of the floor seemed to pulse beneath my feet, a heartbeat of its own. Upon touching the door, a frigid breath seemed to emanate from it, sending shivers down my spine. The aged wood's rough texture greeted my fingertips, the door almost vibrating beneath my touch, as if sentient. Silence weighed heavily in the basement, punctuated solely by the throb of my own heart reverberating in my ears. Tentatively, I grasped the handle, its warmth a stark contrast to the icy atmosphere. Slowly turning it, the mechanism yielded with eerie smoothness, the door swinging open noiselessly to reveal a wondrous sight. Not a wall or another room, but a delicate silvery mist swaying gently, as if caressed by an invisible breeze. Emitting a soft, hypnotic light, the mist beckoned, not with fear but with a soothing allure, akin to a fading dream upon waking. Within its embrace, a distant melody, akin to a piano's gentle tune, drifted towards me. The air bore a sweet, familiar fragrance, reminiscent of spring blooms or freshly brewed tea. Hesitating in the doorway, torn between curiosity and caution, the mist danced, forming ephemeral shapes that teased recognition before dissolving. Faces flickered, landscapes unfolded, a veil separating reality from the enigmatic depths beyond. Stepping back, I closed the door gently, the click of the lock breaking the enchantment. Familiar sounds of the house returned, the clock's ticking, the wind's whisper, a distant dog's bark. Ascending the stairs slowly, I carried with me the sense of a remarkable discovery. In the ensuing days, I revisited the basement, yet the door had vanished, replaced by an unyielding brick wall. But on the quietest of nights, betwixt wakefulness and slumber, that distant melody lingers, prompting thoughts of the hidden door, waiting for its next seeker. Some doors, it seems, reveal themselves only when time and space align in unfathomable ways. And perhaps it is best that way, for the mystery of that basement door taught me that not all riddles demand solutions, and some secrets are lovelier when left untouched, like fleeting dreams that brush against reality before dissolving into the silver mist of memory. Story 48. The rain cascaded heavily onto the roof, creating a mesmerizing symphony as I settled in for another solitary evening in my quaint country abode. The droplets traced intricate paths down the window, forming serpentine patterns that swayed in the soft glow of the candlelight I had kindled to push back the encroaching darkness. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves of the garden trees, their rustling akin to a natural lullaby. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a steaming cup of tea, I idly observed the tendrils of vapor spiraling upwards into the air. The house murmured its familiar tunes, the gentle creaking of aging wood, the rhythmic tick-tock of the entryway clock's pendulum, the hushed whistle of wind weaving through unseen crevices. All appeared ordinary in the tranquil setting, yet an elusive disquiet began to infiltrate the peace of the evening. It was during a sip of tea that I discerned an anomaly. The upstairs bedroom window, glimpsed through the hallway mirror's reflection, emitted an unusual glow, as though a candle flickered within. But I knew unequivocally that no such illumination existed in that room. Setting down my cup with care, I rose leisurely and made my way towards the staircase. Each tread groaned beneath my weight, a sound well versed after years of residency in this dwelling. However, on this particular night, every creak seemed imbued with a different resonance, as if the house itself sought to convey a message. The air grew chillier as I ascended, a faint film of moisture clinging to the walls of the upper corridor. Upon reaching the bedroom door, I hesitated briefly before turning the handle. The brass felt unusually cold to the touch, nearly icy. With a slight squeak, the door swung open, revealing the room cloaked in shadows. The window, the very one observed in the mirror, remained shut. Yet my gaze fixated on the lock, which began to shift of its own accord, a slow, deliberate motion suggestive of unseen hands. To my astonishment, the window commenced its gradual ascent, inch by inch, devoid of any visible force propelling it. The gentle breeze that wafted in failed to account for this movement, carrying with it a redolent blend of dried flowers and aged wood. Approaching the window tentatively, I watched as raindrops entered the room, forming small pools on the wooden sill. To my amazement, the drops defied gravity, twirling in the air to create intricate circular patterns before alighting upon the floor with gentle grace. As I pondered this inexplicable display, a stirring caught my eye. Upon the glass pane, words materialized as if an invisible hand inscribed them upon the fogged surface. The script unfolded gradually, too blurred to decipher clearly. The curtains swayed softly, though no discernible draft stirred the room, their motion akin to the serene inhalations and exhalations of a slumbering being. Moonlight, filtered through rain-laden clouds, cast ethereal shadows upon the walls, each shadow a silent narrator of untold tales. Reaching out towards the window, I felt the icy breath of the outside world caress my fingertips. Just as my hand neared the glass, the window closed gently, mirroring its earlier unhurried motion. The lock clicked softly into place, and the ancient fragrance that had suffused the room began to dissipate. Motionless, I stood for several moments, attuned to the persistent patter of rain outside. The room appeared unchanged, yet an intangible shift had occurred. It was as though the house had sought to reveal a fragment of another realm, a realm existing parallel to our own, visible solely in those fleeting instances when the veil between reality and enigma thins to a whisper-thin membrane. Since that enigmatic night, whenever rain descends, I find myself ensconced in my armchair, fixated on the window's reflection in the hallway mirror. Sometimes it remains still, while on other occasions, It unfurls slowly in a wordless ritual that has woven itself into the fabric of my existence. The origin of this phenomenon eludes me, yet I have come to embrace it as a facet of the enigma that binds me to this abode, a clandestine pact shared solely between myself and these ancient walls. And on the stillest of nights, when the wind murmurs through the trees and the rain whispers its secrets, I almost sense a familiar presence hovering nearby, an unseen guardian choosing to inhabit this space alongside me, materializing through a window that opens of its own volition. Story 49. In the dim glow of the flickering candlelight, shadows danced on the ancient stone walls as I descended the weathered steps of the cellar. The familiar creak of the wooden floor beneath my feet echoed through the cool, damp air, carrying memories of countless trips to retrieve Grandma's preserves. Yet, on this particular evening, a subtle shift in the atmosphere stirred a sense of unease within me. Despite the stillness, the candle flame flickered erratically, casting an eerie light on the layers of dust that seemed to have settled overnight. Halfway down the stairs, a peculiar sensation seized me. The wooden shelves, which usually ended within a few paces, now appeared to stretch endlessly into the darkness below. The shadows elongated, reaching out towards the unknown depths, beckoning me to explore further. The silence enveloped me, broken only by the steady rhythm of my own heartbeat and the distant drip of water seeping through the ancient stones. Driven by a curiosity that eclipsed my apprehension, I pressed on. The jars of preserves lined the shelves, their labels bearing dates long past, 1980, 1960, 1940, fading into obscurity. The air grew colder, carrying the musty scent of aged earth mingled with something older, like the scent of forgotten manuscripts. The shelves continued to extend, revealing intricate patterns of ancient bricks and mysterious symbols etched into the stone with a precision beyond comprehension. At a particular shelf, a jar of dark glass caught my eye. Its label, remarkably preserved, displayed a date that defied reason, 1820. With trembling hands, I lifted the jar, and in the hushed cellar, a faint whisper, more felt than heard, brushed against my senses. It was as though time itself murmured secrets, ancient and profound. Turning slowly, I glimpsed ethereal figures flickering in the shadows like wisps of memories yearning to take form. Sensing an unseen presence, I resolved to retreat. Yet, as I made my way back towards the stairs, a disconcerting realization dawned upon me. The distance I had traversed seemed to stretch on endlessly. The light at the top of the stairs dwindled to a mere speck, a solitary beacon in the vast expanse of darkness. Striving to maintain composure, I ascended the stairs, each step a deliberate effort to anchor myself in reality. The shelves gradually shifted back to their familiar state, the dates on the jars returning to contemporary years, and the intricate patterns on the walls fading into ordinary stone. The jar from 1820 remained in my grasp, a tangible reminder of the inexplicable journey I had undertaken. Emerging into the warm glow of the kitchen, I placed the jar on the first step, casting a final glance into the depths of the cellar. A fleeting movement caught my eye, a distortion in the fabric of time itself, a glimpse into the mysteries that lurked beyond mortal comprehension. Sitting at the kitchen table with a steaming cup of tea cradled in my hands, I pondered the enigmatic events of that evening. The jar now bore a simple label, Blackberry Jam 2023. Yet when opened, it exuded a fragrance unlike any other, a scent redolent of time itself, ancient and sweet, evoking memories of a bygone era. Since that fateful night, every descent into the cellar beckoned the possibility of rediscovering the infinite corridor. Though the stairs remained unchanged and the shelves held familiar preserves, there lingered a palpable sense of anticipation, as if the cellar itself harbored untold temporal secrets. Perhaps one day, I will summon the courage to venture once more into that endless passageway, to unravel the mysteries that reside at the vanishing point where time loses its hold, and the past and present converge in a timeless dance of shadows and light. Story 50. The autumn rain whispered as it danced gracefully from the heavens, enveloping the world in a hazy embrace. Time had slipped away, stretching my workday into the late hours of the night. Each step I took on the slick pavement harmonized with the soft percussion of raindrops serenading the parked cars' rooftops. The air was pregnant with the essence of rain, a blend of damp earth, decomposing leaves, and that elusive crispness that accompanies a storm. Drawing closer to the bus stop, a solitary figure came into view, a silhouette of stillness beneath the shelter's translucent canopy. Draped in a dark coat that seamlessly melded with the night, and crowned with a wide-brimmed hat casting shadows over their face, the figure exuded an enigmatic aura. What captured my attention was the peculiar dryness of their coat amidst the downpour. Pausing a few steps away, I observed in silence the dim street lamp casting ethereal shadows around the figure. An illusion seemed to veil their form, as if gazing through a frosted lens. The rain's melody softened in their presence, cocooning us in an unnatural quietude. Glancing at my phone, I noted 20 minutes until my bus's arrival. With cautious steps, I sought refuge under the shelter, the rain intensifying its downpour. The mysterious figure remained motionless, seemingly unaware of my presence. Seating myself at a distance, I soon noticed another uncanny detail. Raindrops near them diverted off course as if repelled by an invisible force. A subtle hiss accompanied the rain as it approached, a discordant note in nature's symphony. Time stretched languidly, my attempts to distract myself with my phone futile against the stranger's magnetic pull. Peripheral glimpses hinted at the figure's subtle movements, as if beholding unseen wonders on the horizon. A gust of wind caused the street lamp to sway, casting deeper shadows momentarily. It was then that the stranger turned slightly towards me, revealing beneath the hat's brim 2 faint points of light, akin to the moon's reflection on tranquil waters. My heart's rhythm echoed in the stillness, a blend of fear and curiosity anchoring me to my seat. With a slow, deliberate motion, the stranger returned to their original position, and the moment passed like a vanishing tide. The distant rumble of the approaching bus shattered the silence, its headlights piercing the darkness and elongating shadows on the wet road. Hastily rising, I stole a final glance at the bench, only to find the stranger had vanished without a trace. Boarding the bus, my legs trembled slightly as I settled near the driver. As the bus departed, I peered through the fogged window, catching a glimpse of a dark figure dissolving into the rain, a wisp carried by the wind. In the days that ensued, each visit to that bus stop on rainy nights held a different aura. The street lamp's glow seemed dimmer, and the rain's melody carried a haunting resonance, as if the very air retained the memory of that mysterious presence. Though the stranger never crossed my path again, on rainy evenings, I'd notice peculiar raindrops deviating from their descent, a subtle reminder of that enigmatic encounter.